Hello, welcome everybody to a new episode of the weekend edition with myself, WandrinDutch, and my co-host, of course, the awesome General C. Jen, how are you doing
Hello,
today, brother?
hello. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Yourself?
Not bad. Not bad. It is toasty today. Super
It is.
toasty.
It's pretty warm. It's not as hot as it was a few weeks ago because it got to like 33 Celsius here, and that was just disgusting. I hate it when it's hot.
Yeah.
I'm a winter person, so I prefer freezing temps.
And there's only one room in my house that remains cool, and that's the living room. The rest of the house is always very warm.
Mm.
So my only escape is either outside in some shade somewhere or in the living room. Um, but yeah,
I
other
don't
than
go outside. I'm a gamer. I don't touch grass.
yeah. What you been up to anyway?
Yeah.
What you been playing?
Played a lot of Skyrim the last few days.
Oh, you've got
I've really got
you've
back
got the
into it.
Skyrim
Yeah.
bug again.
Yeah. Yeah, I said I think on the main show I mentioned I downloaded it while I was still sick with COVID.
Yeah,
Um, I started it then. I thought it was going to be another you know when you download Skyrim and then you try it for 5 minutes just to wander around and then you delete it.
yeah.
But no, I'm actually I'm proper into it again. So been playing that for the last few days, a couple of hours a day. So
Awesome.
pretty much the only game I've really played apart from Hunt Showdown on my stream yesterday.
Yeah,
Finally got some Hunt Showdown in. I've missed playing that. It was a
yeah.
laugh.
I'm looking forward to scaring you shitless again on Monday. Oh, it's
I've
tomorrow.
got my Xbox set up here. Yeah, I've got my Xbox set up here now, so I'm good to go for tomorrow's stream. So
Nice,
it's
nice.
going to be a blast playing some more Alien Isolation. I think I just got to the part where you first see the alien,
Yeah,
and that's sort of where I stopped.
that's fair.
I
Yeah.
did get killed a couple of times by it though. So.
Yes, you did repeatedly, and then you were like, "Yep," and I think we'll end the stream here.
Uh,
Oh.
what about you? What you been playing?
I've actually been playing loads of FIFA recently, mainly because I've just been in the mood to play a football game, and to be honest, FIFA is the only football game because Sports, soccer, whatever the fuck it is from Konami's utter dog shit.
Mm.
So yeah, just been playing a bit of that. Obviously been playing Sea of Thieves with yourselves.
Oh, I always forget about CFAs. I always forget. I shouldn't, because it's a game we play every week.
Every week, religiously every week. Yeah, Sea of Thieves, FIFA 22, of course, because it's on Game Pass now, so I didn't have to. I didn't pay it for the first time around. My mate got the last gen version because he wasn't going to pay the next gen tax. But it's on Game Pass now with the next gen version, so I don't lose anything, don't gain anything. It's there, so I may as well play it.
Yeah, I'm not much into football games, so
Yeah,
I never play them.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. Unless you are, you wouldn't anyway.
I'm not really much of a football head, to be honest. I'm not into it. I don't really watch it unless it's like the World Cup. That's the only time I ever get into football.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, that's fair. The World Cup's always quite a cool occasion. Outside of that, nothing much, to be honest. It's been one of them things where I haven't really been in the mood to game and just been kind of watching TV and stuff like that and watching horror films or trying to find new horror films that are quite cool and stuff like that. So,
I think I'll top Stranger Things.
no.
Nothing's
No.
going to fill that void.
Speaking of which, Pat messaged me this morning. He was like, "On to see episode 2 of Stranger Things," and I was like, "Oh, awesome, awesome." He was like, "That was brilliant. Can't wait to watch the rest of it." And then he messaged us earlier, like a couple hours ago, and he was like, "Just finished season 4." I was like, "What?"
What?
He just binged it all. He was like, "That was like the best series ever." I was like, "Jesus Christ!" Yeah, he just watched all of season. Yeah, so he must have been up like super early and just threw Stranger Things back on again. So yeah, he's finished season 4 now, and he said he can't wait for the next series.
Oh, it's brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a YouTube video they uploaded with a few of the cast members playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes,
With,
yeah, I haven't watched it, but I have. It's on Netflix actually, I think.
yeah. I've watched half of it. It's pretty interesting. Pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a loads of like things where they do the interviews and stuff with them in like a Stranger Things setting, and they're all quite cool. I like it when they do things like that. Like I
Yeah.
like the
Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
kind of like the Harry Potter reunion. Did you watch that?
No, I did not. No.
That was actually quite cool. It was like a Sky
Hmm.
thing where it was like going back and rewatching it from. Essentially, it's kind of going back and how it was created from the very beginning all the way through until the end, and how it kind of progressed and who wrote the stories and so on and so forth. And it was quite interesting to watch. But I like watching things like that for series that I like. I hate watching things like that for series that I despise. But no, Stranger Things is
Yeah.
absolutely insane, and it's going to
Oh,
be a
it's so
shame
good.
to see it come to an end after
I've
season
watched a
5.
lot of interviews with the casts over the last few days, and
Yeah,
it's just so good, so good. The actors are amazing.
yeah. So confident now in themselves as well. They're going to go on to some good things then.
It's like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Marvel snaps some of those kids up while they can.
It depends what they're doing
Best
as
for
well.
them to contract them now before they get picked for other big roles. If Marvel were smart, they'd get them.
Yeah, I was going to say like Millie Bobby Brown's already got Enola Holmes, which she part directs herself.
Henry Cavill in that as well, right?
Yeah, which she co-directs.
Oh, that's
Believe
cool.
it.
I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
she's considering she's like 18. She's super young for a co-director.
Yeah, it's the best age though. Like when they're young, because they can learn it all, really, can't they?
Yeah.
And when you're younger, you're more susceptible to learning things.
And they also don't pick up bad habits. Whereas if you do it when you're older, you've picked up a lot of bad habits. That's why, including in my job, when they get people kind of trying to understudy with me, I'm like, listen to what I'm saying, but don't do what I do.
Yeah.
A lot of bad habits in here that I've been molded over the last 10 years that you shouldn't be talking about, but yeah, stick to the basics.
Yeah.
But no, it
Everyone's
is
got
awesome.
their bad habits, though, haven't
Yeah. Especially work things. Like work, you just get so like in a routine of doing something, even if it's the shortcut way. Like you do the shortcut way and they're like, right, you don't do this, you're not meant to do this, you're not technically allowed to do this, so don't copy what I'm doing. But never mind. Never mind. But yes, so this week there isn't much to talk about in the news. What we're going to do is we're going to dive in and have a brief chat about the Skull and Bones gameplay that we witnessed the other day. And then we're going to dive into our top 5 best games of all time-ish. And our top 5 worst games of all time. We're going to explain why for all of these.
Honorable mentions on either side.
Yep. Yeah, and a few honorable mentions on best and worst for various reasons. For instance, we might have extremely fond memories, but we wouldn't class them as our best.
I will say it was hard coming up with the worst list than it was the best list, because you just don't remember the worst games because they're not memorable. It's hard to sit there and think about what game did I dislike a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like it's a breeze with the games you loved.
Oh, 100%. 100%. The ones that you hate, you tend to try and forget. But there's a some, and we've brought those few up that we dislike, that do stick with you, and for reasons that we'll get into. But before we jump into those, Jen, Skull and Bones, the fabled Sea of Thieves killer. Do you think it is, first and foremost?
This isn't Sea of Thieves killer, no way. It's gonna come out, people are gonna play it for a few weeks, and I think it's gonna get left in the dust. I think they're sending it out to die.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think they've just got to a point now where they want this game out. They can't exactly go back to the drawing board again.
Nope.
Because we already know they'd
They'll have lost too much money now.
Before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Ubisoft are probably just over the fact that they've spent a lot of money on the game, and they want to get it out. I mean, they're putting it out a day before one of the biggest games of all time comes out. And yeah, that game is a PlayStation exclusive, but it's, yeah, and Skull and Bones might be a multi-platform game, but it's still not going to do well on PlayStation.
Nope.
Most people are going to be getting that God of War Collector's Edition.
Yeah,
with a,
which is super
the mighty
expensive.
Mjolnir.
Yeah.
They're
See, I
going to go
wouldn't.
for that.
The thing is, I wouldn't want it for Mjolnir because it's like for what people don't realize, and this is always like a mythical thing. But Mjolnir looked fuck all like a giant block of iron. Mjolnir was just a hammer. It was literally just a hammer, like an actual regular working hammer. It wasn't this huge block of iron at the end of a stick. Like the one that I want, and you can get nice little prop replicas for 30 quid, is the Leviathan axe that he carries around. So I think I'm going to get the Leviathan axe to hide on the wall there because it'll look cool.
Oh, it'll look awesome on the wall.
100%. I did know someone in my friends list actually on Twitter that was doing. I think he stopped now, but for a brief moment he got a 3D printer. He 3D printed. I think you remember seeing it, don't you?
I can't remember who it was though, because I'm following the person as well.
Yeah, 3D printed the Mjolnir axe, and it looked absolutely tremendous. All it needed was a bit of repainting and things when he finished, but
I think they're quite good friends with Colt Eastwood as well, aren't they?
yeah. I was like, I'd happily pay you to make one of them. Send that over to me. Even if you send it over in parts,
really
and I'll put it together when you send it.
Yeah, that would be something cool to put on the wall.
Oh, 100%.
I need to get some more collector's items myself, because I went through a phase where I just got sick of dusting everything and I sold all my collector's items.
Yeah. Like, for instance,
I regret that now.
just there, I've got the lightsaber on the wall now. And you can't see it because the light's beaming through the window, but the lightsaber's on the wall. And as much as I love the lightsaber on the wall, because again, it's a prop, it's also not game related, and everything else on that wall is to do with video games. So I'm going to get the Mjolnir axe and put the Mjolnir over there. It's not Mjolnir, the Leviathan axe, and put that over there instead, and put the lightsaber somewhere else. I don't know where yet, but yeah, it would make more sense.
yeah. Maybe get an energy sword as well to go alongside it.
Yes. To be fair, I'd rather get the assault rifle. The M40.
That one you sent me is like, what was it, like 400 quid or something?
Yeah,
like
but it was like unbelievably good. Yeah,
I'd get it. If I won the lottery, I'd spend most of that money on crap.
The funny thing is you can go onto Amazon, type in this prop, and it'll bring up the expensive ones as well, like the 300, 400 quid ones. But then it also brings up the ones that are made of foam that look pretty much identical, but they're just foam. That have been painted and etc., and they look awesome. So the rubbery ones, the bendy rubbery ones that you can just use around, that's much easier. It's much better. It's far cheaper and it looks good. Especially if it's just going on the wall, which a lot of these items do. You're not carrying them around anyway. So
there's some real talented people out there that do cosplay that make their own stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's hundreds of hours of time for some of these people, specifically the costumes.
There's a guy I used to watch. He's Australian. I think his channel name is Cosplay Chris.
Yeah.
And like some of the stuff that he comes up with is insanely good, and like the techniques that he uses to like give it a weathered effect and all that. It's just so cool. As much as I'm not into that personally myself, because I couldn't imagine dressing up and going to a convention and sweating in that all day long. That's just not for me. But I can appreciate what they do with that level of skill for art like that.
Yeah. Shout out to Princess Salty, actually, who's just sent us an inbox with the 3D print blueprint for the Leviathan axe, 1-to-1 replica for 3D printing.
You just need to source a 3D printer now.
Yeah, and all of the stuff to go with it. It does look absolutely beautiful, mind. And all the files to go with it. That would be awesome. I'm gonna have to save that. Let's save that.
That's pretty cool.
Boop. Yeah. So yes, that's.
Did you That's a question I was meant to ask you. Did you finish those painting those PlayStation plates that your project was?
Almost. Almost.
I'm interested to see them.
Yes.
It's for Vin, right?
It is for Vin, yes.
It's got to be Skies of Arcadia.
It's not. No.
It's not.
It is PlayStation related. I'm not doing them as Skies of Arcadia PlayStation. He would love that, no doubt.
I thought it would have. I thought it would have been Skies of Arcadia related because the amount of times he brings it up.
Oh, I know. No, but the only reason I haven't was it. I mean, to be fair, that would be like, it would be kind of like me doing because Skies of Arcadia is on everything. So if he was getting in like if he had a, for instance, if he sent over his Dreamcast, or something like that, then I'd happily do a Skies of Arcadia Dreamcast for him. But with it being PlayStation and or Xbox, really what you want to have is something that is limited edition, but to that platform. So yeah, you can buy a Spider-Man one, you can buy a God of War one, and the God of War one and the Spider-Man one were absolutely tremendous. But they've had other ones that have been pretty shit. The Last of Us one was terrible.
I can't remember what they did with the Last of Us one. Wasn't it like
it was the butterfly or whatever
that's
it was
on Ellie's wrist or something?
Yeah, and like just the word "The Last of Us" on the front of it, and that was it.
Yeah. PlayStation are not all that imaginative when it comes to making
custom consoles.
Yeah.
No, whereas Xbox just go absolutely bonkers. Like you had a look at the Gears ones, specifically the Gears ones have been insane. Like the Gears 1S, the red one with like the scratches all the way down it that were like dug into the console and things, and it had a custom turn-on sound and everything. The Gears ones that they've done, the Halo ones they've done, even if you have a look at the Cuphead ones and everything like that they've done over the time, like everything's had a little bit of difference. The Minecraft ones that they did, and it all had a good theme and it was quite detailed. But PlayStation very rarely know how to do a good custom console. Like the Spider-Man one looked cool, but at the same time, it was just the Spider-Man logo.
It was just red on the white logo. They could have done like maybe a textured sort of look to it with the suit, like
or literally put Spider-Man on it, flying through the city with loads of detail on. But no, they had enough space. Like they had loads of space to do something with. So
maybe it got to the point where they were like, "Oh shit, maybe we should have come up with a console design for Spider-Man." And they were like, "Red console, slap the logo on it, you're done."
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And of course, I like going ultra detailed on mine, and because I'm one person, and it's not like lovely painted by a machine for me onto the console, like these these manufacturers have.
You did for Mick.
Yeah,
the Series S you did for Mick was insanely good, and then you got your own custom Hellblade console in the background.
Yeah,
and that's fucking amazing.
Oh god, that's a good super chat coming in there. Thanks to Red Wolf there for the super chat. $5 super chat. He says, "Do you guys think Kratos will die in God of War 2? Borlog said that this is a 2-part story, so do you think Atreus will pick up the mantle as the God of War?"
I'm going to say no.
Yeah. I'm also going to say
Atreus
no.
is Loki, and Loki is not the God of War.
Yeah.
He's the God of Mischief.
Yep. I will also agree. He's not the God of War, he's the God of Mischief. Not only that, but the actual God of War. Tyr,
now maybe
who is in the game. Yeah.
And him be the next God of War.
Yeah. But no, I don't think Kratos will die. I think they'll just... I don't know how they're going to do the story, because I've mentioned this before. I don't know how they're going to do Ragnarok. Yeah, Kratos is already dead. He is technically. He's already dead. He's forever dead.
I'll be back in a moment. I'm just going to let the dog out because it's very hot in here and she's getting a bit panty. So
yep, no problem.
I'll be less than a couple of minutes.
Yep. But yes, I don't think Kratos will. No, he's... I don't know how they're going to do the Ragnarok situation. I mentioned this before, going straight from that to Ragnarok. Are they going to bring Fenrir in as this big boss that you're going to fight? Because Fenrir really is the wolf that essentially is coming down to essentially put do Ragnarok in the first place, essentially destroy everything, along with the kind of Hela taking over. So no, I don't think he will die. But whatever happens, and I don't know, the problem is now as well is I don't know how they will put Atreus into the next series of God of War, or where they're going to do that. So we've had ancient Greece, we've had Norse. So what they're going to do next, Egyptian? I don't know how it's going to work or where they're going to go with it next. Whether or not they're just going to put it on the back burner, because we know Cory Barlog's working on something entirely different anyway. I think it's a space game or something. So it's hard to tell where he's going to go from there. Really hard to tell. But yes. I'm looking forward to it, though. It's not too long to look for. And, of course, Loki should pull some kind of mischievous act that will flip the story over 180, I guess. Yeah, it depends on how they work it. It really depends on how they work the story. And again, it's all to be seen. I don't know how they're going to fit in actual Ragnarok, into the game. From where we left off, it was quite a distance away from that. So it's yet to be seen. Yeah, I trust Cory, but on this occasion as well, Cory's not fully directing it. He's took a step back and he's working on something else. Somebody else is directing it. But of course, he's no doubt having some form of input. But we shall see. We shall see. And of course, like I was just saying before there, it's, to me, I got confused as well, because of course in the UK the dates aren't arranged the same. So when they announced the date 9/5/9/22, I thought that was 5th of September 22, and I thought, oh, that's closer. But no.
Sorry about that.
It's alright. I was just saying there about the release date for God of War when they put it on Twitter as 5/9/22. Like, naturally, being from the UK, I assumed, oh, look at that. No, it wasn't that. Sorry, it was 9/9. Was it 9/9? Yeah, 9/9/22. I was like, oh, September. No, it was 11. Sorry, 11/9. 11/9/22. So naturally, I thought, 11th September. That's good. That's a good date. I enjoy that. It's nice and soon. And then I realised, wait a second. It's not September, it's November. Damn you with your American dates. But never mind. Never mind. Back to Skull and Bones. What do you make of what you've seen?
It'd be alright if you were actually playing as the character, but you're not really, are you? You're playing as the ship. The character just happens to be a means to access the social hubs.
Yeah.
Which are the pirate dens and the outposts.
And did they mention that can you change the way your character looks, or are you this single player character, or?
I think you can change the way your character looks, unless it's like a random sort of generated thing.
Because in the thing, what they showed in all the film or promotional stuff is this, and again, the trailer itself boggles my mind. The trailer for it essentially shows this guy as a slave.
You're a pirate, basically.
Yeah, but he starts as a slave, and this is why I'm like, Jesus Christ, did they really go there? Because it's not just a white guy. It's a black guy as a slave. Starting off the film, I was like, are you really starting off as a black guy slave? Is that really the way you want to do this CGI trailer? And then showing him go off and then go through it and then eventually become the ship captain. I'm like, oh, great that he ends up as a ship captain, but did you really need to start off with him being a slave?
Yeah, I get that. It could have been anything. Just like lost at sea or something.
Yeah. It was okay, that was a bit weird. But do you have to be him? Like, that's the thing. Like, with Sea of Thieves, you can literally create any character you want. Granted, everyone looks fucking ridiculous because of the art style, but
I guess it'll be a character creator type thing,
I
right?
would hope.
Because
But you know what
you're gonna
Ubisoft are like,
be
man, with the bloody Assassin's Creeds. Like everyone looks the same.
it's gonna be like 20 people on a server or something like that, and there's gonna be the pirate hubs where you can socialize with other pirates or other ship captains. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing there's gonna have to be some sort of difference between the characters because if everyone looked the same, it'd be pretty weird.
Yes. Exactly.
But I think that trailer is very misleading, like the CG trailer they showed initially, because it made me feel like they were going to do more with the game than it just being set really primarily on the ship.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is, really. The only time you step foot on land is when you're at the pirate dens or the outposts.
Yeah. You
For
don't.
the rest of the game,
Exactly.
you're the ship.
Yep. You don't see your character at all. So that's probably why they're going to get around it, because no one ever sees each other.
Yeah, they had an opportunity here to do something special with this game.
And even in the social hubs, they're not social hubs. They're just where you pick up your contract, where you upgrade your ship.
And, well, apparently you're going to be able to team up with other pirates there, but most randomers don't care who you are.
Yep. But even then, I would hazard a guess that you probably don't see the other pirates there. You probably see them when you're on your ship and you're in the dock. And you see the other ships.
You do see other pirates there because there's like the little live stream bit they did afterwards where he invited the guy that was also co-streaming into his party sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming you do see other pirates there.
Did he look any different, though?
A little different. He had like a sort of straw hat looking thing on. Like
Oh, so he just had a different outfit.
Yeah.
But was it the same visual?
Hard to say whether he looked different. To be honest, I only watched it the once, and I can't remember if the pirate that the other guy on the stream was playing as looked much different from the guy playing like on the main part of the stream.
Yeah.
It flipped between screens every now and then, but only when they were really out on the sea.
Yeah. I think the Fifth Horseman's got a point there. He said, I think they were just trying to make it seem like it's got a narrative or premise, when really it doesn't. It's just marketing. I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's got all narrative.
Why did they do that when they come out and state after that trailer that there's no real narrative to the game, there's no linear story. It's basically your story. You're the pirate and you're telling your own story, really.
Yeah, which is just going
So
start
give
fights,
me a feeling
collect
that
loot,
this is
and upgrade,
some
and then
single
start
player
more
narrative
fights.
driven thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Start fights, collect
So-
loot, upgrade. Start fights, collect loot, upgrade. Start fights, collect loot, upgrade. Start
So-
fights.
They want to do this pirate game, but there's more to pirating than just being on a ship. There's the exploring the islands for treasure.
Yeah.
There's going to
Every pirate
pirate
tale.
hangouts, getting shit-faced drunk with your pirate
Well,
friends.
every
throwing
pirate
up on
tale
each
that's
other like
ever
we do in Sea of
existed.
Thieves.
Yeah, every pirate tale that's ever existed in all pirate mythology, from start to finish, whether that be Moby Dick, where they're hunting the giant whale, or whether that be the Kraken, where they're hunting that, or whether that be the Megalodon, where they're hunting that, or whether it be sirens, or mermaids, or whatever it is, there's always something in pirate mythology that can really expand your story. Not only that, but then you've got the tales of treasure hunts and going to certain islands, and there's been traps and like death everywhere and things like that. And that's what pirating's all about. It's about the mystery and the intrigue. And
Yeah, that's why
that's
people
why
love
Sea of
pirate
Thieves.
stories. Is
Yeah.
the mystery behind it. I mean, could you imagine if the Pirates of the Caribbean movies were just all set on one ship?
And you never seen them get off the ship, and no one ever explored or did anything.
They show up and shoot a few other ships, and that's it. They go sailing off into the sunset.
Yep.
It'd be a
It's
pretty
good
boring
seeing a
movie,
ship
wouldn't
battle
it?
every now and again, but like even if you have a look at going over to Sea of Thieves, some of the little adventures that we've done that have required little to no combat, like the Indiana Jones segment vault things where you're trying to get over from one end to the other and miss the obstacles and the
I
swinging
love those
axes, and
parts. They're amazing.
hilarious,
And
super
that's
fun.
kind of, as
That's
much
the
as I
adventure.
know they don't want to do the Sea of Thieves thing and copy the game.
The problem I think they've got is because Sea of Thieves already did it, they can't do it. Because if they did do it, they'd have to do it better.
I mean, they could have done it in a more serious direction,
Of course they could.
in a more lifelike direction. I mean, you've seen the style of graphics they're going for. It's a more realistic looking pirate game in comparison to Sea of Thieves, because Sea of Thieves is cartoony, and they chose that style because they wanted it to be that way.
Yep.
And but that's not a problem whatsoever. Graphics is not an issue. But we play Sea of Thieves because we absolutely enjoy the game. But they had the opportunity to take their pirate game in a more serious and dark direction than Sea of Thieves being funny and silly.
Yeah.
And people would have loved that, because that would have put the people that didn't go much on Sea of Thieves because of the graphics and because of the way it's more aimed at being silly, and it pretty much aimed at a slightly younger audience.
Yeah.
Skull and Bones could have been for the more adult orientated.
Yeah. 100%.
Fan.
100%. Completely. And what I've mentioned before is, for me, from what I've seen so far, it'll be enjoyable for the multiplayer when everyone's got ships and everyone's fighting other ships and things like that. That'll be interesting. That'll be funny. That'll be enjoyable. However, not for 70 quid. I think they've already shot themselves in the foot by pricing that game at 70 quid. There isn't 70 quid worth of content there.
I think they're aiming it at a very niche section of pirate fans.
That only want ship combat.
For the pirate fan that wants more than just ship combat. And I'm into Sea of Thieves not because of the ship sailing. That's part of the reason I play it. But I like going onto the islands and exploring. And I like interacting with all the stupid things you can do in that game, and all the challenging things in that game, like the jumps and all that. Those are the things I like to do. Exploring. That's part of being what a pirate is.
Yeah,
You're an explorer.
Yeah.
You're basically an illegal explorer who steals as well.
And that's what I'm saying. Like this. And what about like all of the mythological stuff? Like they're just ignoring that as if that wasn't part of the pirate life. Like as if giant sea creatures and like hundreds of pools of sharks and things weren't part of it, and the sirens that lured sailors to their deaths.
I will say though that the multiplayer does have a chance to be a big competitive thing if they pull it off right.
Yep.
But again, I think it's going to be a very niche game. It's, in my opinion.
And the thing is what you're gonna have to think of here as well for the multiplayer is that unless you play a lot of the single player and upgrade your ship astronomically, when you go online to the multiplayer, you're gonna get spanked. Because there's gonna be guys on there with like the highest kitted out like man of war ships that you've ever seen. That's just gonna destroy you in milliseconds.
Yep. And I'm wondering how pay to win this is going to be, because we know Ubisoft like to do that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Are they going to do their so-called, what do they call them? Time savers.
Oh, no, the time saver is just going to be how much gold do you want to buy?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. How much gold do you want to buy? And then you can use that gold to buy everything you want for your ship, and that's going to upgrade it.
I had very low expectations for the game. I will say some of it surprised me.
Yeah.
But again, they're not doing enough to appeal to that side of me that likes exploring.
Exactly. At the end of the day, like I say, I will play it, but I will not play it at 70. But I also believe that this game will be reduced to about 30 quid within about 2 months. So I'm going to wait.
I think the same.
I'm going to play it next year.
Like they're sending it out to die.
Yeah. I'm going to wait and I'm going to play it next year if it hasn't already hit Game Pass by that point.
I mean, I really wouldn't be surprised if they get feedback from people saying that it's not what they were expecting, and it's not what they're looking forward to playing. Maybe they come to some sort of deal and it does go on Game Pass day and date.
Yeah.
But who knows? It is Ubisoft.
Yeah.
So maybe they're gonna test their luck first and see what happens, and see if the game does any good in the first month or two.
Yeah.
But personally, I don't think they're doing enough for players that they're gonna stick around for long.
Yeah. Completely agree. Completely agree. Right.
Oh
Now-
yeah, that's another thing I wanted to talk about.
Oh,
It
go
was the shipboarding. I don't like the fact that the shipboarding is just a cutscene, and that cutscene looks like it's going to get very tiring because there's no difference between that cutscene.
You know what part
It's
of
like a repeated cutscene.
I was going to say, you know what part of the fun is with Sea of Thieves ship combat is the fact that everybody on the ship is a person, and everybody has their jobs. So when you're like you're the driver, you're the guy on the wheel. That's your job, is to navigate around and like try to find advantageous positions to fire to get people in cannon range. The people on the cannons are the guys that have to hit the targets. Yeah. But then you've got people doing the sails, you've got people doing the cannons. Like when you're saying coming up on the right hand side, everybody on the right hand side get like cannons on the ready. Then all of the crew go to the ready, and instead you don't have that because you can just fire at will and like just aim over here and aim over here because you are in control of everything. Like it takes away for me some of the fun of the combat of sailing, because I just tend to find the ship combat in Sea of Thieves is that enjoyable is because everybody's working together to take other ships down. It's not just everyone has a ship and everyone can fire the cannons, because otherwise, how quickly would you sink someone if everyone had a galleon in our party? And we're sailing around with like 8 galleons. And you could just sink people. It would be over in seconds.
Yeah, like, one of the things I like about Sea of Thieves is the combat, fighting people.
Yeah.
And we had those 2 idiots that thought it was a good idea to attack 2 galleons, 4 galleons, should I say. And that didn't go according to their plan because I snuck onto their ship multiple times and destroyed them, to the point where they had to leave the server because they were embarrassed.
Yep. them.
Yep.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, like it doesn't look like it's gonna have any off the shit combat whatsoever.
No. Nope.
And that's disappointing.
Yep.
For a pirate game.
It's just like I say, for them, I think for them, because they were both announced at the same time, I think for them, the problem is the Sea of Thieves has done everything so well that it's hard to try and compete with that, regardless of what art style you're going for. Yes, one might be realistic, whilst the other one's cartoony. But it's the fact that Sea of Thieves have implemented almost the perfect ship combat, almost the perfect land combat for a piratey game, where you've got parrying and things like that, and you can block shots and you can attack, and you've got sniper rifles, you've got blunderbuss, you've got the pistol, you've pretty much got everything like that down to a T. You've got fully customizable pirates, you've got fully customizable ships. You can't upgrade the ships, but what you can do is make them look better. Now, the good thing about not upgrading the ships in a pirate game is the fact that everyone would technically be on an even keel. Yes, you might come across a galleon, but if it's 2 sloops versus each other, then it's fine. That's okay. But then even the sloop has advantages over the galleon. Field. Yeah, the sloop can go faster.
There's no real advantage in Sea of Thieves. And I mean, I've seen some people out there that are just on a sloop that
destroy galleons.
Really good at the game that can destroy a galleon on their own.
100%, because they know what cannonballs to use and how to fuck people up.
It comes down to skill and not, I've got the better ship.
100%.
My ship's going to win.
100%. Yep. And once you've got better, especially if you know how to, like you, who's got used to going aboard other ships and doing hand-to-hand combat and things like that. Like, if somebody knows how to do that, then taking down the galleon becomes pretty easy, because people know how to sneak up on a ship. They know how to plant a barrel, especially super kegs, and then boom, up it goes.
Blowing that ship up.
Yeah.
Or sneaking on board that ship and assassinating everyone on board.
Yep. Exactly. And then ramming it into a rock.
Yeah.
Like planting it into a rock, destroying it. So it's I think it's just because they've done everything so well, and because they've had a couple more years out in the wild now, where they've had a chance to implement the battle pass or the season pass, whatever you want to call it. They've had a chance to implement loads and loads and loads, and I mean hundreds and hundreds of customizable options for pirates, pets, and weapons and ship, and everything in between, and now ship naming.
Well. All the weapons are balanced.
Yeah.
It's not pay to win sort of thing like some of the Ubisoft games are.
Yeah. And then you've also got you've got the adventures. And you've got the adventures that you can go on and do these underwater. You can either do these underwater ones like we did the other day with the mermaids, and things like that, or you can go and do the Indiana Jones-esque one that we did the other week, where we're going through obstacle courses, and there was literally no people to fight until the very end, and then you had the boss with a room full of skeletons that you had to take out. But then you had, like, the entire way there was just trying to get across spike pits and get past spike floors and arrows shooting out the place and swinging axes and things. So they've got that. They've got the tie-in adventure that they had with Pirates of the Caribbean, which was a nice story. They've got other little stories that you can do and follows on, and it takes several hours to complete each one of them. Like, I think it's because they've implemented everything so well with so much to do. Not only that, but the actual sailing across open water isn't quick by any means, and it feels like you're a pirate because you've got vast distances, you've got storms to go against, you've got weird foggy areas that get eerie as anything. You've got different types of weather. You've got volcanoes that are firing things at your ship. Like, there's so much in the game that it becomes almost impossible. And you've got,
like, the random chance the Kraken can show up, the random chance a Megalodon can show up.
Yeah, pirate skeleton ships floating around the place all the time. Normal AI players, Reapers that come after gold hoarders.
There's none of that feel of mysticism to Skull and Bones.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's what catches it out. And I understand why people don't like Sea of Thieves, because in Sea of Thieves there's always a chance that some dick on a sloop is just gonna come over and fuck with you for about a good hour until you get sick of it and quit. And it does happen.
Yeah.
But to that, I always say,
I do dislike about Sea of Thieves is the amount of idiots you get on it that want to ruin your night.
You do, but at the same time, and this is what I think everybody, including yourself, realize: it's a pirate game. Pirates are dicks. They were. At the end of the day, a pirate's life for me isn't like, it was never like the actual pirate life wasn't whimsical and full of adventure and stuff. It was full of adventure, but it was unbelievable amounts of death and scurvy and like shooting and just firing people on overboard or chucking them over into the sharks, whatever it was. Like, there was so much horribleness that went on there that the pirate life includes getting destroyed or getting
stabbed by other pirates.
Yep. So it is, unfortunately, it's part of the pirate life.
Don't forget about mutiny.
Yeah, mutiny, exactly. Oh, there's plenty of that. And you've even got the brig. That's another thing. You've got the brig on. Thankfully, we haven't had to use it yet, but you've got the brig on Sea of Thieves. You can put people in the brig if they're pissing you off. So yeah, as much as people hate it, it's all part of it. And thankfully, if you're not playing with PC servers, it isn't that frequent. And even if you are, change your server and go into a new server, you should be all right. But when you're sailing in two galleons, it's very rare that we get too pissed off with these Reapers, because eventually...
they're easy to handle when we're in a big crew
when
like
we've
that.
got two galleons, eventually they give up. Because they realise there is no end to this. We will just keep sinking them. They can try and sink us as much as they like. And even if they sink one of us and we respawn, we will sail immediately back to the other ship, find out where you are, and destroy you. So
I'm like a Navy SEAL in that game now.
yeah.
I slip off on one side of the ship so they don't see me, and I just sneak onto their ship.
Mm.
And occasionally I'll pop up just to see where their ship is, and I'll go back down into the water,
Yeah.
swimming around. And then I'll get on the ladder of their ship, and then I'll just mess them up.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Sea of Thieves is that. It can piss people off, but at the same time, as long as you've got a crew, and I do stipulate this, Sea of Thieves is fun when you're a crew. It is very hard to play that game properly and get what you need to get done as a single solo sloop.
Yeah, I don't think I'd play Sea of Thieves on my own ever.
No.
It's
And
not
I wouldn't
the type of game I'd
recommend it.
play on my own.
I wouldn't recommend it. Unless you're wanting to just go out and have a sail. And literally just sail
I only
around.
enjoy Sea of Thieves because I've got everyone that I'm playing with.
Yeah.
And it makes it such a better experience.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Unless you're wanting to just go out and view the water and sail the seas and listen to some music and not actually do anything other than sail around, play as a team. Get yourself a crew. Where, again, every Tuesday we've got a crew of 8 people or more sometimes that we're having to try and squeeze in. We always get people asking if they can jump in, even when we've got a full two galleons. It's like it's hard enough getting 2 in a server, let alone 3. It's not to say that it doesn't happen, because it has happened before, but it's not easy. But yeah, it's 100%.
It can be quite hard getting the extra ship.
Yeah, it can. Sometimes we get it immediately. Other times it takes an hour and a half, 2 hours to get 2 ships into a server.
Yeah, I mean, it was just as I pretty much showed up.
Just as you jumped into the party.
The stream was starting is when you and Mick got the ship.
Yeah, the moment you came at the party, it was when we got the ship. I'm like, oh, thank fuck for that. It was 2 minutes before go live. Like, oh, close.
It must be a good luck charm. I should show up like an hour earlier in future.
Yeah. I wouldn't care. Remember the other week where Mick messaged us both and he was like, got the ships. It was like 6 o'clock. It was like, what?
Yeah, that was fast that time.
Yeah. But never mind. But yes, ultimately, I think they've just missed the boat on the pirate thing because they haven't really done it properly. I think it'll be ultra reduced within no time.
I think it's going to be a shipwreck of a game, to be honest.
Yep.
Which is unfortunate. It's last very long.
It's unfortunate, but I have to agree with
its niche following. But
I have to agree with other people. I think Ubisoft at this point are just saying, just get the game out, just get it out. We can't sink any more money into this game anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they can waste any more money on it. There's no way they're going to reboot it again for a 4th time.
No. Shout out to Pat there. We were talking about this earlier, Pat, when we mentioned Stranger Things, but he's saying finished Stranger Things 4 today, best season of all. God damn. Now wait so long for season 5. I know it's gonna feel like forever.
I've been trying to convince Smooth Dog to watch it.
Smooth Dog. Smooth Dog, start.
Gotta watch it.
Start it. I was convincing my best mate today to watch it actually, because he was like, "Oh yeah, I watched season 1," and then like it was all about this little girl with a power and thing, and I can't remember. We didn't really watch anything past season 1. And I was like, mate, and I put the trailer on for season 4. I was like, that looks more entertaining, doesn't it? He was like, yeah, that looks far different. I was like, exactly. So start watching it.
It's so good.
But he was also telling me, he was like, watch The Boys. Watch The Boys. Watch The Boys. I was like, right, man, I'll watch The Boys. You watch Stranger Things. We'll compare notes.
Have you started The Boys yet?
No, but I will.
Watch it. It's good.
I've heard it's pretty gory.
Like superheroes and stuff, but that show is kind of the point. It's not to like the superheroes.
Yeah, it's apparently superheroes are dicks and they've all like got massive egos and they all think too much of themselves.
It's pretty much like if superheroes really existed in real life, they'd be complete dicks.
Yeah, well, there would be.
There'd be the odd few that is good, but most of them would be complete dicks.
Yeah. And his Phantos watch The Boys. Grim Glenn, The Boys is awesome. Right, I get the point. I'm okay. I'll start watching The Boys.
It's also one of the most goriest TV shows
Yes,
I've ever
that's
seen.
what I heard as well. He said there was one part that the guy goes inside the guy's penis and then sneezes and grows. And I was like, what?
I was not ready for that. I laughed so hard, I almost herniated myself when I saw that. I wasn't expecting it, and I messaged Stu because Stu watches this as well. Midweek Mix Up mods do.
Yeah.
And I said to him, "You ain't ready for the opening of season 1." And he said, "Yes, I am." I said, "No, you ain't." And then he messaged me later to say that he'd watched it, and I said, "I told you wasn't ready." It's bloody hilarious. It's one of the craziest things I've seen on TV.
But
Stranger
yeah,
Things
he
is one of
said
one of the
like people
best written
getting like
things I've ever
diced and
seen.
sliced in half, and arms ripped off, and limbs ripped off, and yeah, he said it's pretty grim, like.
Yeah, but The Boys is one of the most obscene, crazy, out there things I've ever seen, and I love it. It's amazing. You got 3 seasons to binge, so
Well, that's all right.
so season 3 literally finished last Friday.
I might do that a little bit later on tonight then. Start the Boys, and it better be good, everyone in chat. Otherwise, you're all on timeouts.
It's good. It's definitely aimed at people that don't like superhero properties. And for someone that does love it, like me, I can see the satire of it, and I absolutely love it. It's hilarious to watch. I love Marvel, I love DC, and it's basically just one big middle finger to those properties.
Yeah, and that's why that's why everyone loves Deadpool. Because again, it's complete anti-hero. It's got fuck all to do with it. It's grim. It's all about drugs and sex and slicing people in half and just brutality. And that's what it's. And even Deadpool
Disney are
2,
allowing them to continue making Deadpool 3.
Oh yeah, I know. I can't wait for Deadpool 3. But even in Deadpool 2, he X-Force, and he gets the X-Force together, and as soon as they go into it on Deadpool, all of them dead.
Yep, it just
immediately
die instantly.
Like the Invisible Man was Brad Pitt, and I remember doing the interview.
He gets electric shock.
Yeah, doing the interview for that, and he's like, "Oh, we got Brad Pitt," and he's like, "No way." He's like, "Yeah, he's the Invisible Man." He's like, "You see him for 2 seconds when he gets electrocuted and dies." You're like, what the fuck?
That was one of the funniest cameos in it.
Oh, it was so fun, but all of it, just that's what it should be like, and and that's the thing about and why Deadpool needs to exist, because unfortunately, you've got the other PGs or PG-13 Marvel stuff where unrealistic things are happening. Like, characters are beating people up. Like, superheroes are beating normal people up, and they're not just exploding on sight. Because realistically, with some of the super strength that they've got, or hitting them with a fucking hammer at like 400 miles an hour that's made of solid steel that can just like dent concrete, they would evaporate. Just be blood and guts.
That's what you get with The Boys.
Everywhere.
That is what you get with The Boys. You get what it would really be like.
Yeah. And that's what it needed.
It's
that's
amazing.
really what Marvel needs to
it.
go down to. But unfortunately, they have to be PG-13 because, of course, think of the kids. They can watch it. Yeah,
so
bugger
the
it.
thing is, Marvel know that Deadpool 3 would be a flop if they took it in a PG-13.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
They need to have
and this
that
is exactly
mindset
why.
For a lot of the other Marvel properties.
But this is also why Logan worked so well. Because Logan was not PG.
That movie couldn't have been a PG-13 movie. That would have.
And that's how Wolverine should be. Wolverine should always be Logan. It should always be that kind of brutal.
It should always be that crazy. Well, not crazy, but he should always have that berserker side to him where he just loses it.
Yeah. But it was also the brutality, like slicing people's legs off and like seeing like that little lass. I've forgotten what she was called, like 13 or something like that, or X13 or something. I keep forgetting the name of her. And she's slicing everybody up and screaming at everyone and stabbing them in the foot and stabbing them in the balls and whatever it is. And it was just brutal. And that's exactly how it should be. But unfortunately, like I say, X21, thank you, Fano.
Yeah, I think Marvel going forward, they need to realise that there is those sections of the Marvel universe where they can go in a more adult-orientated direction. And it can be an R-rated movie. Because look at what Deadpool did. Look at what Logan did. They were success.
Yeah.
They were a success, I mean.
Oh, massively successful.
So they should do that. They should take more
even
risks
look at the new... And I'm going to say this because I preferred this new one over the first one. But the new Suicide Squad was so much better than the first one. So much better. And that was gory as shit. Like sharks eating people in half and things. And
Nom nom.
Nom nom. Yeah, it was so funny. It was, but that was gory, and look how well that worked.
Yeah. The first Suicide Squad movie sucked.
Oh, complete donkey dick.
But James Gunn's Suicide Squad movie
It was brilliant.
Was amazing.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was out there, but it was so fucking good.
Yep. Completely
That's
agree.
how the first Suicide Squad movie should have been. And there's a reason why they just called it The Suicide Squad, because it was basically James Gunn's middle finger to the original.
Oh, Fanto, sir, watch the second Suicide Squad. It will make you forget about the first one.
Basically, the first one doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So
yeah, ignore the first
pretty
one.
much scrubbed that.
The only good thing to come out of that first one was Harley Quinn.
Margot Robbie. She's a good actor.
Everybody else can bite the dust. The
worst thing to come out of that movie is Jared Leto.
Yep, 100%. That Joker shouldn't exist.
Same with Morbius.
Yep.
Jared Leto should not act. He should stay away from acting.
Yep. To Grim Glenn's point about the Wolverine. I was going to say to Grim Glenn's point about Wolverine coming out to PlayStation. That's apparently going to be more adult. I don't know whether or not it's going to be full 18, but it is going to have some level of gore and more adult about it.
It's got to be.
Yeah, thankfully. Thankfully, I've heard that it is actually getting rated higher than the Spider-Mans, so it's going to be a little bit more. But again, it's a lot easier because it's a video game. It isn't a film.
I'd say that Wolverine game will be on the level of brutality that you got in The Last of Us 1 and 2.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be. It is because, and I think the thing is as well. I think Insomniac know that taking on Wolverine property. And if you have a look at the actual trailer for this Wolverine, it's not like the X-Men Wolverine. He's not like with his X-suit on and wearing a silly costume. He's in a bar. He's older. He's wearing his vest. Like, he's drinking. Like, that is Logan territory. So I think it's going to be more along the Logan route. Whether or not they give... I think what they'll probably do for Wolverine is have the option to turn on blood or turn off blood, because there's a few games that do that. You can do that in Gears of War, believe it or not. Not that anybody ever fucking turns it off. But you can turn off gore in Gears of War. But I think they'll do that option.
Who would do that?
I know. I think they'll do that option. I think they'll give the player the option to leave gore on or turn it off. And I think either way you're going to get the same actions, like he's going to stab someone in the gut and he'll fall down, etc., or he'll slice his leg or whatever it is. But I think with the gore off, you'll slice his leg and he'll just fall over into whatever routine. I think with the gore on, you'll slice his leg comes off or whatever it is. I think there's going to be a little bit more to it.
I hope they have dismemberment in their game.
Yeah, they should. They need to. It depends. But I've heard it is going to be rated more towards adults than kids, which is good. Thank God. But Jen, it's that time. Our top 5 best games and top 5 worst games of all time, along with some honourable mentions on both. Do you want to take away with your top 5 best games first of all?
Should we do it in like a rotation?
Yeah, we'll do it in rotation. We'll go. I haven't got mine in order. I've just got them. These are my top 5. Yeah. So pick one of your top 5. Let's go.
Halo 2.
Halo 2. Why? And to be fair, I'm going to jump in on this one because we both picked Halo 2 in our top 5. Halo 2.
Halo 2.
Yeah.
It was the first game I played on the original Xbox. It's a game that gave me, when I was a younger, it gave me a better understanding of what storytelling was.
Yeah.
How great storytelling could be. It opened a whole new world of storytelling and enjoyment for me.
Yeah.
And that awe of being in space in the opening of Halo 2, it's mind-blowing. And as a kid, like you're seeing that on your screen, it just blew my mind, and that's why it's here. I mean, I could have quite easily have put Halo Reach here because that is my favorite Halo game, without a doubt. But I have to put Halo 2 here because more for nostalgic reasons and growing up and having a better understanding of storytelling is the whole reason why I put Halo 2 here. It's at the top of my list. it's number one.
Yeah. For me, Halo 2 was specifically for it isn't the first Halo that I played co-op, but it's the most memorable Halo co-op I've played. The story, thinking rightly, it was the escape at the end with the on the fallen plates and things like that in the Warthog, and doing that little final run section when you come through the end. I just remember the whole thing and going through the city where you've got these giant things running through the city and you've got to take them down, and there's so much happened in Halo 2 as a co-op experience, like from start to finish, that it just cemented that in itself is just fond memories. And I've played, God knows how many times I've played through Halo 2 co-op. Infinite amount of times. It never gets boring. Like, I can play Halo 2 co-op at any point all the way through and I would love it.
Yeah, yes, it's another reason why it's on my list is because I obviously co-opted it with my dad. It was the first Halo game we played together, and then we went back and played Halo 1. So
Yeah.
I have a lot of fond memories for Halo 2. The multiplayer, when I first got the 360 and the first time I signed up for Xbox Live. It's the multiplayer game that rings a lot of bells for me. It brings back a lot of those nostalgic memories of experiencing online multiplayer for the first time.
Yeah.
So that's a whole reason why it's at the top of my list.
Yeah.
There's other reasons why it's at the top of the list, but they're like the main reasons. The story, the loving the story at a young age and learning what good storytelling was. It all comes from that first experience with Halo 2.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And of course, to anybody in chat listening or even after the fact, let us know your top 5 best and top 5 worst games you've ever played. It'll be interesting to read some of them lists. So if you can have a think for them, it isn't easy. Trust me, it's really not easy, especially the worst.
With the worst games, worst games are the
because you don't tend to remember the worst ones because you try to block them out of your memory. But
we were both in the green room scratching our heads on what was going to be in our worst list. Some of them were easy picks for me. And
I'm just laughing at the Fifth Horseman's comment.
That should give you a hint.
But yeah, that's perfect. That's a perfect timing. But yeah, it's not easy creating them, but that is actually one that's gone your worst. But we'll talk about that when we get there. But yes, I'm gonna go up to my first pick now, and my first is actually 3 games. Now, I'm more saying this. I would have said a series, but believe it or not, even Final Fantasy fans don't like the entire series. But Final Fantasy 6, 7, and 9 are by far my favourite Final Fantasies out of all of them. And the reason I've clumped these together is because these were all within a period of time where I was in school, early in school. I had the PlayStation 1, had a tiny little VCR TV, like a grey thing with a little VCR underneath it that was built into it. It was like, God knows how big the screen was. Maybe it's about a 10-inch screen or something smaller than that. It was something ridiculous. But I remember having the PlayStation plugged in that upstairs, and I'd run in from school. I'd put on the PlayStation. I'd put on Final Fantasy 6, 7. Well, 6, of course, at that time. I ended up getting on it was like a collection thing because, of course, originally had it on the cartridge. But 6, 7, 9. I remember coming in from school, and every time I would just engross myself in the stories and the characters, and 9 overall kind of, for me, tops them all because of the different stories of each character. And it was always the mage, the little mage, where he finds out that he's essentially mass manufactured, and he gets to this village where all of them kind of are kind of speaking in this monotone thing, and they're very much robotic, and he's like, why is everyone talking like this? Like, what, we just have an actual conversation with us. And then he gets to the factory where he sees all the mages being built, and he's like, holy shit, and he starts getting upset because he realizes he's not real. He's been made by man. to be a mage for the queen and things like that, and that was like going through that storyline and seeing the story arc of him doing that and getting kind of depressed and kind of not wanting to be there anymore because he realizes he's not real, and how can anyone like me? I'm not even a real person. I'm not even a real boy. And then like all the characters are gathered around him, they're like, no, like you are, and we love you for it, and etc. etc. And just the whole story between that and the little vagabond that steals the princess, but then the princess actually wanted to be kidnapped essentially. And you're like, holy shit. So you get all the way through, and there's these it's just such an insane story from start to finish, and the storytelling in 9 is probably the better storytelling out of any of the original Final Fantasies outside of 6. And that one really cemented to me what it was like to get engrossed in a fantasy world that was completely outside of this and just be part of it. There was no other kind of fantasy world that I'd up until that point that you kind of just didn't get engrossed in and loved so much.
I don't really have fond memories of Final Fantasy, to be honest, mainly because I haven't played many of them.
Yeah.
I think I played a bit of 10. I played one of the games with that lightning character in it.
13. Yeah.
But I haven't played many of them, so it's not a game that I would put on my list. It's not even on.
It's one that gets, the funny thing is anybody that ever mentions, if you see anyone's top 5 or top 10 Final Fantasy lists, it's always, and this is why Square Enix always miss a trick, because they're just the best Final Fantasies, according to their own fan base, are 6, 9, and then 7, and then 10, and 10 2. It's never ever been 7 as number 1. 7 has never been a number 1 Final Fantasy at their own fan base. It is the most successful Final Fantasy they've had, but it's never been the favorite. So I don't know why they don't give more love to the favorites, which are 6 and 9. And it's always been the case. 6 and 9 have always been the best Final Fantasies that ever was for story. The pure storytelling in 6 and 9 are unrivaled by any of them. 7's just managed to get this ultra publicity that's just propelled it along.
I might give 7 a chance when I get the PS5 closer to November.
But for someone new coming into Final Fantasy, because this is the problem for me, is growing up on the originals and having the original turn-based combat, and having the original story where you could just play the entire story in one and not wait 5 years in between each version and having to pay 70 quid for each to get the entire story. That's then been retold into a different story altogether. Unlike that one, which is good for people that are new to Final Fantasy, that haven't played Final Fantasy VII before, you will enjoy that. For people like me, who grew up on Final Fantasy VII, and remember the original story in its entirety, having played through it in essentially one sitting over the course of a couple of weeks, it is a stark contrast in what that game was and its feeling behind it and the way it was actually pushing these characters and the story compared to what you get with the remake.
No experience with Final Fantasy VII whatsoever, so
exactly. But my thing is Final Fantasy there in Games Lord. Final Fantasy X has epic story, Aeons, and most importantly, Sir Auron. So Final Fantasy X for Games Lord's obviously one of his favorites. I don't know whether or not it's your favorite, but of course, let us know what your favorites are in the chat. But Final Fantasy IX for me has to be the king of the Final Fantasies, followed by 6, followed by 7.
What Final Fantasy games I've played, I've not completed.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. I do not blame you. Final Fantasy 15 was the closest you would get to a modern one before 7 Remake come out that would have a chance of getting someone interested. And it was good until the end, where you could see where they just wanted to get it done. And they kind of funneled you into this linear story at the end, to the end point. Like the last 3 chapters were just linear to get you to the end. Whereas the entirety of the rest of the game was open world. But other than that, yeah, that was awesome. I hope to God at some point, but I can see them doing what they did with 7 and spreading a Final Fantasy IX remake across several copies and turning it into something that it wasn't. into an
it being
action.
timed exclusive.
Yeah, and it'll be exclusive to play. I'm fully expecting at some point Square Enix goes Sony. At this point, it may as well be. So, yeah, I said I wasn't going to buy another Square Enix Final Fantasy game, but when I get when I get PlayStation, I'm just going to essentially have that as the Final Fantasy machine, because it's obvious now that it's never going to be Xbox. So
yeah, I don't know why Sony don't just lock that down at that point.
why not? You may as well. It's already in the bag.
It seems like Square Enix were sizing themselves up to be sold off.
Yeah,
because they got rid of a lot of their studios that they didn't like.
Yep.
Their Western divisions.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like they were sizing themselves up in the eyes of Sony to go, look, we've cut some of the slack.
Yeah.
In what their opinion was, because we all know how they treated their Western division.
Yep.
Do you want to buy us now? And I'd imagine that I really wouldn't be surprised if that deal was being talked about behind the scenes now.
Yeah. 100%. I think so. I think so. Grim Glenn says Final Fantasy VIII is his favourite. To be honest, there is some favourite parts of that, but it wasn't my favourite story. Final Fantasy VIII. I remember the fond memory of 8 was the beach landing. When you're going from God.
Says doing worst is way too hard. Doing the worst list.
Oh yeah, worst is really hard. Worst is really hard. It's not an easy list at all. But yes, and we'll read those out in a little bit. We're gonna get to Jen's next favorite game. What's your next favorite on your list?
Skyrim. It has to be Skyrim. With the vast open world. It was like my first big steps into playing an open world game.
Yeah.
I did play Oblivion before that, but I never really got into Oblivion. Skyrim was really where I got into into playing big Bethesda games like that. Put countless hours into Skyrim on multiple platforms. I've had it on PS3. I've had it on Xbox 360. I've got it on PC, and occasionally I'll put the PC on and play it with some mods. But my most played place for Skyrim was the 360.
Yeah, same.
So many hours into that game.
Same. Especially back then, because back then there wasn't really a timer. The only timer you had was your save file, which told you how much time you'd played. And I think I had well over 200 hours on Skyrim on 360. Like, I'd finished everything. I'd finished all of the DLCs. Everything that come out for Skyrim at that point, I'd finished. I'd maxed out my character at the point where he couldn't be damaged by anything, and I was one-shotting everything.
Yeah, I loved it. Like, that, the first opening moments, like when you're on the car, is one of the most memorable things in gaming that people meme. It's like, oh, you're finally
Microsoft
awake.
use it as a meme now. Ah, you're awake.
it's amazing. Like, and then getting to the keep where you're about to be beheaded, and then the dragon shows up at the first dragon encounter you have. It's just amazing. It's an experience that I will never forget. It's like making your character, spending an hour plus making the character that you want to look like.
Yeah.
Like my initial character was an Argonian, because I thought, you're a Dragonborn in this game. I want my character to look like a dragon. So I made my Argonian. I thought, oh, that's cool. He looks like he's a dragon.
Yeah.
Looks like he is a Dragonborn. So, and then just exploring the world, like, and then the DLCs that came out afterwards, the Dawn Guard DLC where you could become a vampire lord, which is what I'm currently replaying now. It's one of the reasons why I reinstalled Skyrim, because I want to play that vampire section again.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just amazing.
I remember as well. There's like so many, and there's the good thing about Skyrim, and this is what a lot of people don't seem to realize about some of these RPGs, these Western RPGs, is the fact that your character creator is there. In a world like Skyrim, you can essentially do anything in any order that you want to do. It means that everyone's got different stories about what's happened, and no one's playthrough is the same. So when you used to watch live streams, there used to be like, I used to watch this guy called Sips, and he was part of a massive group called Yogscast. Some people in chat might remember who Yogscast are. They've kind of fell off the way a little bit over the years, but they're still huge.
Yeah, I remember who they are, but I never used to watch them a lot.
Yeah, but there was a guy called Sips who was like Canadian that was part of that thing, and he's kind of went off and done his own thing as well a little bit. But he did a playthrough of Skyrim where he was a lizard wizard. So his guy was a lizard, and he made them be a wizard. So, but he did the whole playthrough as that, and but he's so like sarcastic, like Canadian sarcasm and things all the way through, and it was such a fun playthrough to watch. But that's the kind of things you can expect from things like this. Is like you can just do whatever, and everybody's playthrough is different, and always finishes or the same, or finishes differently and ends differently, and the deaths are always hilarious, and things you can get up to are different. And
yeah. I just remember my first time going up to a giant, smacked with the hammer, and just being sent into the stratosphere.
Yes, everyone's first experience of the giant is hilarious.
Yep.
Bye. Like, holy
and, like,
shit.
The random things that can happen in Skyrim is hilarious. Like,
oh yeah,
you can take damage just through walking into an invisible object that's not there.
Yeah.
And it's just stupid and funny. And as much as it shouldn't be there because they're bugs, they're kind of like a hidden gem, the bugs in that game.
Have you seen all the like video?
I
was going to say, have you seen all the video memes
funny.
that people do where they like go up to the woman and like do the whole talking sequence, and they're like, "How goes there?" It's like, and don't talk to me like that. That's it, you've done it now. And then she backs off, and then the guy's like, he fights with her, and then you die, and then your body goes limp, and it starts flopping around everywhere.
Yeah. I've seen them on TikTok.
They are perfect. That is exactly what Skyrim is.
It's funny.
But yeah.
Like, have you seen the memes as well where like you get that one guy, I think it's a Spanish guy, he gets up off the chair and just walks into all the chairs and they all move. And he's continually walking. It looks like it's been ripped right out of Skyrim. It's done so well.
There was another one I watched as well, was like lagging games. And again, we're going slightly off topic here, but when you're watching people take the mick out of lagging games as well, it was a guy running down the street, and then he like lags forward, then lags backwards, side to side, up in the air, turns around, running backwards, then on a horse, then off a horse. Then
yeah, it's great. Yeah, Skyrim will always be one of my favorite games to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've just got so many fond memories playing
it. Didn't make my list, but I have very fond memories of it, and that was one of mine in honorable mentions, because again, it's one of them games you can. It's a game though, and I know certain people have played through it start to finish multiple times, but I can't. Like, once I've played a game like that, I remember how long it took me, and I'm like.
Yeah, I think that's like it with me, because I do this thing where I think about Skyrim. I install Skyrim. I play Skyrim for 5 minutes, and then I uninstall Skyrim.
Yep.
But this time round, when I'm playing it again, I've not done that. I'm like proper into it at the moment. So.
And of course, it has now, thankfully, the next gen patch as well. So it's a bit crisper. It's a bit cleaner. It plays better, smoother.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm playing it on Series X at the moment, not PC.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Awesome stuff. Next up for me is Age of Empires 2, with an honorable mention to 4, because I think it's the best one to come out since 2, and the best out of them all if 2 didn't exist. But Age of Empires 2, even Archie, Boxenberger, agrees with me on that. Age 2 is the best Age of Empires. It was just, that was my, Age 2 was actually my first proper experience during dial-up times of an online multiplayer game.
It's probably Age 2 that I played around a friend's house multiple times when I go around my friend's house.
Yeah.
On his PC.
I'm not sure how long ago that was with it being dial-up. Yeah, it was just such a fun experience. Like, and again, it's always like when you play Age, you lose 3-4 hours in a blink, because you're like, right, okay, you go over here and you mine this, and you go over here and you chop this wood, and you go over here and you do some fish, and you go over here, you build these walls, you go here, you do this, and before you know it, there's an hour gone, and you've got like 3 little huts and a wall around your tiny village, and you're like, Jesus Christ, this game's going on for a while. And you've
Yeah.
done nothing, but the time has vanished.
Mhm.
But it's then when you've built up this massive army and you're like, you keep getting attacked by people and it keeps you on your toes and you're like, right, I need to get rid of that or build more defenses here because it's getting really grim. And they're gonna kind of overdo us here, and then you get these little notifications. He's advanced to the Imperial Age. You're like, shit, I'm gonna have to speed up a bit here. And then you're building up all your defenses, trying to build up your army, but whilst also using part of that army to go and defend against the invaders.
Yeah, that's similar with me and Civilization 5.
Yeah,
I played quite a lot of that.
it was just doing all of that, and then the online multiplayer, where I got introduced to a mod mode from obviously community made mod mode, which thankfully someone's brought back into the modern realms on Age 4, called Castle Blood. And it's a game mode that they created where essentially, because again you can create custom games on this game as well, where you can set certain parameters, and essentially with Castle Blood, everyone auto generates. So for every person you kill, you're auto generating troops. So you'll start off just with a regular kind of sword guy, or guy with a club, and then the next one up, and then it would you'd get all the way through. So for every 50 kills, you'd get this guy, and then for every 100 kills, you'd get the next one. For every 1,000 kills, you'd get the next one, and it would slowly upgrade the troops that keep spawning automatically. So you'd keep spawning troops to send out and fight, but you've got to try and destroy the other castles as well whilst you're doing this. But you're already just auto-generating troops all of the time, so you're forever fighting. But whoever can swarm the other castles the quickest to take them down essentially wins, whilst you're also occasionally being attacked. So you've got to try and have some army left here, auto-spawn and just send them out to fight as quickly as possible as you can, and destroy the other castles. But it's just such a fun and quick game mode that doesn't involve building. It's just about, right, okay, we need to try and amount loads of murders as quickly as possible to get this done. But it was my first real experience of online multiplayer that I enjoyed. More of a competitive thing, and that was just so fun. So much fun.
Yeah. I need to give the new
Age 4. Yeah,
Age 4 install. It's on my list to get to, but I just need to make time for it.
Yeah.
Because it's something I do want to try out, because I've heard so many good things about it.
Oh, yeah.
And I've seen a few people stream it on Twitch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's something I do need to get to.
It's absolutely
when
awesome.
I do, I'll have to jump in with you and Boxy and play for a bit.
Boxy's like pro level almost. He's quick. He's super quick at building things. Like, I'm like, how the fuck did you get them to do all this that quickly? Like, I'm doing this, and I'm like, right, right, okay, I just need these resources, and I can upgrade. He's like, already upgraded. Right, I'm going to the next one. Right, okay, upgrading.
He's using
I'm like,
console commands.
What in the He's so quick. I'm like, holy shit, like, Boxy, you are ultra fast at this. So what I'll do is you do the building of defenses, and I'll just stock resources. So I think that's going to be the best team building there. But yeah, it is really fun, but it does sap like one game. I mean, like me and Boxy might get 2 games in against highest rated AI. We might get 1 or 2 games in depending on how long the game lasts on every time we play. It's never more than 1 or 2 games because they're not short games by any means. Like, you can literally, a game against the AI can either last you an hour or it can last you 5 hours. It depends on how good or bad it's going. Yeah, it's a good job it has a save function in it, but the vast majority of the time you just want to get through it and win. But yeah, absolutely awesome. So that firmly goes into my top 5 best of all time. But what's your next on the list?
Number 3 is Gears of War, the first one.
Okay, explain.
I just remember seeing the trailer for that, and then seeing it was like an IGN piece of footage. It must have been like an 8-minute video where they were showing off like the chainsaw and all that, the chainsaw on the Lancer. and then actually getting the game the day it came out, and being a cheeky little shit at a young age and pulling a sickie that day, pretending I was not well so I
Yeah.
could stay home and play it. So, yeah, not many games I did that with. Not even Halo I did that with.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, it's the story. It's something special. Again, like Halo, it's one of the greatest storytelling games I've ever experienced in my life. There's been plenty that have come after it, but
Yeah.
being at a young age and experiencing that, it's just something special, and that's why it's on my list. The storytelling, the gameplay at that time, cutting edge. The online multiplayer, cutting edge.
Yeah.
Just being able to play, I think it was 4v4 back in the day. They didn't have 5v5
Yeah.
on the first Gears. And just getting into a game and picking up the sniper on the map canals and
The
having
map
a
canal,
sniper
yes,
standoff
that
with
map canal.
someone,
Canal's map
peeping,
was
like, ducking
the
down
best
and-
map by a long shot. And shout out to Grim Glenn as well. He says, to be honest, Gears 1 to 3 is the perfect trilogy. And I probably have to agree, because 1 to 3, as a story trilogy, I can't really fault it for the story.
Yeah. I'd have to agree with that as well. It's up there with Halo 1 to 3 for me.
Yeah. But like, yeah, that map canals are, same as you.
It's sort of timeless classic. Yeah.
I remember so many nights playing canals, 2v2 with my mate and then these other two random best friends on this other team that we'd never met before, but they were doing the same as us, and just doing 2v2 shotguns. And that was it.
For me, it would be I'd challenge my dad to a sniper battle, and I'd always win.
That was fun. Yeah,
really
sniper
quick
battles
with
were
sniping.
hilarious. Like, it's the head pops though every time that you just like, oh,
yeah, the head pop is
yes!
it's so satisfying,
Isn't it?
just
Every
hearing the
time.
head pop.
You're like, yes,
Yeah.
got you. Oh,
I played a lot of games co-op with my dad.
yeah,
All the Halo games, obviously apart from Infinite, I've played in co-op with my dad. Gears of War was the same. Played all them games co-op with my dad. I appreciate that a lot, that I had those chances to bond with my dad like that, because my dad's one of my best mates now because of the bonding with like me and him playing Xbox games, with me growing up. It's a great bonding experience for a father and a son to play games.
yeah, 100%.
I just remember playing all the Gears games on insane difficulty with my dad and having a bloody good time.
Those snipers on insane difficulty are a fucking joke though.
Yeah, but Gears of War 1...
Because it was literally like, if you just on insane difficulty with the snipers, you'd just put your head out around the corner and pop! Like, what?
Yep. Yep. That's exactly what it was like on multiplayer as well. Like, as soon as you both grabbed the snipers on that canals map, or any map that was similar like that with snipers across...
You know what was more satisfying than the old
quick.
head bob like thing where everyone was trying to just try and like... It was when someone was trying to dash across the map and you managed to head pop them.
You managed to catch them in their head pops. I was about to say that.
That is the most satisfying head pop of them all. Is when when they do the roll across the other side, where they try to roll and you catch a head pop. You're like, oh, Jesus.
They roll right into the scope at the right time and you pull the trigger. It's perfect.
Oh.
That's the reason why Gears of War is at number 3 here.
You're making us want to download Gears now just to play some community 2v2s or something. That'd be so funny.
Sniping is perfect on canals.
Yeah.
It's one of the best maps to snipe on.
I'd do that just for some custom 2v2s. I'd download it again just for some custom.
The 3 bridges, like the bridge in the middle, no one goes to. That's like a unwritten rule. You don't go to that bridge when you're doing the sniper battles on canals. It's just both the bridges, snipe away. Great times. That's why Gears of War 1 is at number 3 here.
Yeah. Yeah.
They could all equally be here at number 3.
I had again. I wasn't thinking of the multiplayer when I had this. And my honourable mentions, I put Gears 2, and that was for the story of Gears 2, with Dom and his wife and things like that.
Bloody great.
But yeah, okay. No, that's you're now making us think about getting a community night of Gears custom games going, because that would be fucking hilarious.
Gears 5 custom games, that would be hilarious.
Yes.
Boom shots.
Just snipers only. Snipers only.
Snipers only.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's get it set up. Some snipers only Gears.
I'll get
custom
that installed.
games. Yeah.
I'll get that installed as soon as. What am I talking about? I can do it right now. I've got Game Pass.
Oh, but yeah, mate. Right. My next one actually is God of War 2018. It is the newest one on my list by a long shot. And I think Vin, you've jumped in the chat at the right time. Because Games Lord's got some awesome recommendations here. He wants Grandia 2. I'm sure Mr. Vin in the chat there would be over the moon with Grandia 2. Fanto Sir says, sign me up. Yes, let's get some community online snipers only games on Gears sorted.
There we go. I'm installing it now.
Boom. God of War 2018. Yeah, for me, of course, naturally, I love the Norse mythology. I love the whole thing behind Norse, but it wasn't just that it was set in the Norse time frame, or that it was around the whole Norse mythology. It was the way in which Sony Santa Monica pulled that off and the storytelling. The fact that had Mimir telling all of the mythological tales to you whilst you're sailing around the world, whilst you're traversing the place. So in between going places, it wasn't just a case of you had a little bit of music playing, etc. You had the Mimir telling you a story that happened, and like all throughout, and he would tell you about the Valkyrie, he would tell you about Odin, he would tell you about Tyr, he would tell you about the giants, he would tell you about Loki, he would tell you about everybody to do with the Norse mythology in the actual original mythological tales. It wasn't deviated. He told you the original tales and how they come to be and how they grew up and everything like that. So it was that, to me, was an added thing that I wasn't expecting from that game. I wasn't expecting the level of detail that they put into the storytelling of the Norse world and its mythological kind of history.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I have a book by Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
About Norse mythology.
Yeah.
And it's a great book. And a lot of the stories that were in that are actually in that book.
Yeah, and as you say, they're not deviated from. And the thing is I love the fact that they had Mimir telling the story as well. Because I think his voice, Mimir's voice, told the story well, and that he told everything in this whimsical way.
I can't remember who voices Mimir, but
yeah, such a great job.
Voice actor.
Yeah, such a great job. But then again, the entire world was awesome. The way they set out the world serpent, the way they set out, of course, and it was unfortunate you didn't get to see the giants really. But of course, go to the land of the giants at the end. You go to Hela, you go to the land of the mist, you go to all these places, then you've got the kind of story with Odin's sons, you've got, of course, kind of the Valkyrie that are mixed in between there as well, and you obviously you find out about the story of the Valkyrie as you're progressing along, and the combat felt meaty and heavy, and it felt like you were doing damage to everything, and it felt like everything like made a dent in things and did damage. When you access your rage for the first time in God of War 18 as well, that felt meaty. It felt like you were going to just bray everything in sight. Graphically brilliant, music tremendous, storytelling.
The Fran the X as well was done so well, like because that could have easily have come off cheesy looking.
Yeah.
But
and it felt heavy. It felt like it had weight behind it.
Yeah.
And it was I like the way it catches it as well. Wasn't like boom, like they do in like Marvel where he catches it and he's like firm.
I'm
grip.
wondering if they'll
when
ever
he catches
do
the axe, he's like.
Whoa. I'm wondering if they'll do a VR experience for God of War, the PlayStation VR 2, because that could be interesting. Because they've got the new hand controllers.
Yeah.
Similar to most other VR.
Yeah, similar to the what do you call it? The
Oculus Quest, is it?
Quest, but then the first one I did it was Vive. The HTC Vive.
That would be cool if they did that, where you actually with the VR headset on, and then like you do the motion of throwing the axe yourself. That
Yeah.
would be awesome, and then you have to like catch it and.
But yeah, they're just all in all, start to finish, I loved it, and it's another one of them games though that I cannot go back and play again because I've done everything
that's
that
on
I
my
have.
honorable mention list. God of
Yeah,
War
it was
2018.
one of them games where once you've played it through, and I know a lot of people can play through stories that they've played before, but once you've platinumed a game like that, and there is nothing more to do, you don't really have the incentive to go through it again. And I love the story, and I don't want to be spoiling my first impressions of that game. I want it to just remain as where it is, and it's one of my favorite games of all time. But loved it start to finish when I played it. Beat that the first.
I think I'm gonna play it again.
Yeah.
Closer to when the new God of War comes out.
Well, you see, I
obviously
beat.
be getting the PlayStation 5.
I beat God of War 2018 the opening 2 days that it was out. Beat it. Within the week that it was out, within the first 5 days, I'd platinumed it. Because I loved it that much. I just didn't want to come off the game, and I was like, right, this is the first like PlayStation game, and this still remains to this day as the one and only PlayStation game that I've platinumed. The one and only, because it's the only one that I've wanted to platinum. I'm like, right, well, I'm going to go and find this, I'm going to go and do this.
That's me with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's me with Spider-Man. It's the one and only PlayStation game I've ever platinumed, ever cared to platinum.
Yeah. That's it. And again, I'm the same with the Xbox games. Like, there's only a handful of games that I care to platinum. I still need to go back and wrap up Psychonauts, and I only need to collect a few things. That's just a collection thing now, so it's not like I need to go and combat anything, because I've done all that. But that is one I want to have the 1,000 for, because I loved Psychonauts, and that's in my honorable mentions as well. Psychonauts 2.
That's the game I need to go back and
super fun. Such a great story, start to finish. So well done. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But yeah, God of War 2018, one of my top favourites there. What's your next one?
Number 4 on my list is Left 4 Dead. It has to be there because the times playing that game co-op, 4-player co-op with friends, and just running from mobs of zombies, and there's so many bloody zombies on screen at once.
Yeah.
And then you get the individual like special zombies, like the hunters that pounce on you, or the boomers that explode on you, and then all that bile goes on you, and it attracts zombies. And then setting off the car alarms can attract attention to you and send a horde of zombies your way. And then like the witch, one of the most terrifying experiences playing that when I was younger is just hearing the music and the crying, and then everyone being like, "Where is she?"
Yeah. Yeah. Oh shit.
It's just a timeless classic. It's a game when I first got my gaming PC.
See, Left 4 Dead 2 was like that for me, not 1.
Mm.
Left 4 Dead 2 was like that for me.
Left 4 Dead 1, for me, will always be like a timeless classic. Left 4 Dead 2 is miles better, but it's that initial experience for me.
Yeah.
It's one of the games I had to buy on my PC, and then, like, there's mods for that as well in Steam Workshop, and you can put Halo mods on that game. And I did. You can install like flood mod that turns all the infected into the flood variations.
Oh, nice.
And like you can be an ODST. It's really cool. I highly recommend playing Left 4 Dead on a PC. If you have a PC, pick it up. It's usually cheap, like around £7, something like that. And playing it with mods. And there's like custom campaigns as well that people do for that game. So I'd highly recommend it. It's a great experience and will always be one of my favorite zombie games of all time.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. My next and last one, because of course we both agreed on Halo. My next and last one for top 5 is, and we've been over this several times now, and you still need to play them. Curse of Monkey Island.
I do need to play them.
Yes, and to everybody in chat and everybody watching, I know it's a point and click, but the story, the characters, the humor, the artwork, the music, everything behind that game cemented it as one of my favorite experiences in gaming, regardless of the type of game it is. I know it's a point and click, but it's just such a good experience. So funny. The characters are so well done. The music's so memorable. Everything about it is just it's essentially a must play in the point and click universe. And even if you just like nice easy story games where you just need a little bit of thought to, okay, what do I need to combine this and this to kind of solve a puzzle, etc., do it. It's so good. It's so witty. And again, it's a lot of it's adult humor as well.
I've been timed out by Vin.
Time out
because I haven't played Monkey Island. Vin's timed me out.
Oh, right, okay, because he hasn't played Monkey. Right, okay. Yeah, Curse of Monkey Island. Just everything about it. And I'm gonna have to gift you it or something.
It's a game I will likely stream.
It's only gonna take like 4 or 5 hours to beat it. It's not a long game by any stretch. I mean, it depends on how easily you get stuck.
Because I've got like a whole sort of plan for streaming. Like I'm doing Alien Isolation now, and then after Alien Isolation, I'm doing the next Resident Evil game, and then I rotate and all that between games. But yeah, I'll squeeze it in at some point. It's a game I will stream.
Yes, most definitely. I'm a viewer now. I can time out. I'm the timeout lord now. Oh dear me. But yes, so that firmly out of all of the Monkey Islands, and again, this is a hot topic in the Monkey Island fandom on which one's the best. We all agree that where is this abysmal Escape from Monkey Island shall never be talked about because that's the 3D one. Okay? Never play that. Ignore that. Pretend it doesn't exist. Monkey Island 1, 2, and Curse of. Play them. Awesome games.
You've been timed out now.
Shh. You can't time me out. I'm the boss. But yes. Out of all of them, Curse of, phenomenal. Play it. That's the best one to play. That'll give you the best experience out of all of them, specifically with being new to the series. But yeah, that's my 5 done. Curse of Monkey Island was my last. Jen, what about yourself?
My last one, I switched this out.
Oh.
It was gonna be either Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare or Call of Duty World at War, but they are now honorable mentions.
Okay.
Because I remembered Red Dead Redemption 1.
Yes.
Red Dead Redemption 1 was a game I put so many hours into, and one of the things that really made me love that sort of Wild West period, there's other reasons, movies such as like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah.
I love those movies, but such a timeless classic, Red Dead Redemption 1. I do hope that they eventually remake it or remaster it, but I don't want them to do what they did with the terrible trilogy that we all know came out recently last year. Sucked.
Yep.
I don't want to see that type of remake.
The good thing, have you played Red Dead 1 since it had its 4K 60 patch?
No. I need to go back and replay it.
Oh,
yeah.
Jen, that game,
it's so good.
because it's got the 1X enhancement, so it's got 4K, 60 frames, and it's got auto HDR. The game looks phenomenal. You don't need a remaster now. Like, that game by itself, in the way that it is, looks entirely different.
Jamie Moran talk about it recently, and I think it was Colt Eastwood gave him some like options to make the game look better as well.
Yeah.
So I need to figure that out.
Like,
install it.
Essentially install the original. Don't like, if you can, don't install the update. If there's a way to play it without the update, see what the graphics were like. Then play the one with the update, the patch on, and you'll see the diff. It's phenomenal. Like, it holds up so well with that new enhancement on, specifically with the auto HDR.
I just remember being so engrossed into that game from start to finish, and the bloody soundtrack is amazing. There's a part in the game where you get access to the it's towards like the middle of the game, I think it is.
Yeah.
And that song plays, and you just slow ride through the entirety of the song. It's so good. And
Yeah.
then the ending as well is one of the greatest video game endings that I've ever experienced. And it brings tears to your eyes because you grow to love that character of John Marston.
Yeah.
And then you see him like taken out by the law, basically. He's been betrayed by the law, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's so good. And the multiplayer as well. Just riding around, chasing other people down in a posse with your friends. Just brilliant. It's something that didn't feel the same in Red Dead 2 online. It was just something special about Red Dead 1 online that was so unique and so fun. I just remember being online with like 6 or 7 people, and we'd just go around chasing after other people that were killing other people they were just being dicks to other players. So we were sort of like the lawmen, just going around hunting people. And you get a bounty on your head as well if you did it too much, like kill people. Just the time was classic. That's why I had to switch it out. I almost forgot about it.
Yeah.
But I was flicking through my
your games played.
My old gamer tag.
Yeah.
And I saw that and I was like, I have to replace Call of Duty 4. As much as I love Call of Duty 4 because it's one of the games that changed COD for the better.
Yeah.
And will always be a timeless classic. I have to put Red Dead Redemption in that spot just because I played that for so many more hours.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Awesome. Awesome stuff. I'm going to read out a couple of the top 5s from chat as well now. So, Fanto Sir's best 5 are Spider-Man by Insomniac, rightfully so. Zelda Link to the Past, GTA Vice City, Knights of the Old Republic 2, and Witcher 3. Some really good mentions there. Grim Glenn, his top 5 in no particular order. Resident Evil, 1996. The Evil Within, underrated game, very underrated game. Dead Space, Resident Evil 4, and Shenmue 2. There's a lot of horror in there. I'm sensing a pattern here, Grim Glenn. But good choices, awesome choices. Top 5 for Scott Braidwood. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Dragon Quest: Journey of the Cursed King, Pro Evo 5, Super Mario World, and Ori. Nice. Both of them, or just one of them in particular? Any more top 5s can I see on here? I don't think so. I think there was a top 5 as well for Phantosaur's kid. Yes. Phantosaur's kid's best 5 are Mario Kart for the Wii, Luigi's Mansion 1 and 3, Five Nights at Freddy's 1, Minecraft. Awesome stuff.
Minecraft is a big one that's probably on a lot of people's lists.
Oh, 100%. And to be fair, if you have a look at my all-time most played game ever, it's Minecraft. I put too many hours into that game. Too many. Let's have a think. I think Vin gave us a list here as well, somewhere down the line. When I remember it. When I find it.
Vin's list is Skies of Arcadia, Scalebound.
Even though it didn't come out. So his list is Skies of Arcadia, Jet Set Radio, Grandia 2, Shining Force, and Ready to Rumble Boxing. Typical, expected, but decent list. Decent list. Bailey Macon Rent. Hello there, sir. His
honorable mentions in a minute.
Yes, his Bailey Macon Rent's list is Dragon Quest 9, Skyrim, Fallout 4, Star Fox Assault, and any Smash Brothers. Bailey Macon Rent, Star Fox Adventures on GameCube. If you haven't played it, play it. But I suspect you've probably played it, and it's awesome. But yes, honorable mentions then. Let's get into that. My honorable mentions are the Pokemon series. Of course, everybody has that reminder of the OG grey Game Boy playing Pokemon Red or Blue or
That
Yellow.
big old brick.
Yeah, the
We
big
had two
old
of
brick
them.
where you needed actual light to play the game, because if you're in the dark in any way, shape, or form, you couldn't. Under the street lamps in cars, putting the light on in the car to play the game, or having the little torch thing that you could plug into it, or the little magnifying glass with a light on it. Having to
Kids
remember
these days, they don't understand the pain we went through.
seeing the low battery light
we
when your
were growing
when your
up.
AA batteries were running out, and you had to quickly scavenge AA batteries from somewhere to put to ensure that it was charged up. And oh god, but yes, the Pokemon series, without shadow of a doubt, most of them, if not all of them, love them all. It was one of my first forays, along with Final Fantasy, into essentially RPGs, turn-based RPGs. Loved it. My next one is Street Fighter 4. Not the OG Street Fighters. Yes, I liked them, but not as much as I did Street Fighter 4 when I got up to almost tournament level. Absolutely loved that game. I installed it again the other day on the Series X, Street Fighter 4 and Arcade Edition, just to have on there, and kind of learn again. But I've lost all my controller configurations, and I can't remember what I had assigned to what. So it's getting used to, or getting kind of my controller remapping done again. I didn't use a fight stick, always been a controller. So, yeah, Street Fighter 4. The next one is, both me and Jen have got this on our honorable mentions, and it's one we played together on the charity stream. It Takes Two. We both absolutely loved that game from start to finish. It was actually quite hard to pull us both off this to stick to our agenda for games to be played during the charity stream, because we just wanted to keep playing it. We wanted to see where the story was going and what wacky and new creative levels we're going to play next. The entire game from start to finish, whether it's music, characters, the worlds, the art styles, the combat, the puzzles, the creative ways that they did the world, everything in that game from start to finish was absolutely phenomenal. And I can't think of a bad thing to say about It Takes Two. Like, not a single bad thing to say about it.
I loved that every level was so different from...
Yeah, and every level your characters had different abilities.
Nothing felt the same.
Yeah.
Nothing felt like rinse and repeat.
No. Every level, your character had different abilities. Like, there was not one level where you used the same ability again. You were always different. So it always kept it fresh. And me and Jen, you can watch the entire thing still on Twitch from when we did that charity stream. And there's not one moment. In fact, it's on YouTube as well. There's a playlist. There's not one moment in there where me and Jen aren't laughing, smiling, or nearly in tears.
yeah, it's an amazing game. Yeah. I just remember like being towards the end of that stream and not being able to figure out the puzzles.
Yeah, and getting the hand from Ben and Pat and everybody. Yeah, because they'd had a nice little bit of a break and a little bit of a rest, and we'd been up for 24 hours. We're getting towards the end of the last hour of the stream, and me and you were just like, what is even going on? what am I meant to be doing here? Well, I can't think.
And Pat's just there assisting us. That was hilarious.
Oh god, yeah. So good.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah, that's one of my honorable mentions as well, as you said.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Just honestly, I'd happily go back and play that game again, because it's such a great experience for anybody who still hasn't played It Takes Two. The other person doesn't have to have the game to play the game. Once you play it, they can play it. If you own it, anybody, even if they don't have it, you can invite them to the game and play it through with you. It's that easy. So it's awesome the way that studio does those things. I've forgotten the name of the director. Joseph something.
Joseph Ferris, is it?
Something like that. But every one of his games is the same. Only one person needs to own the game for both people to play it, regardless of whether or not it's on the same console or online. So you don't have to worry about it. If your friend doesn't have it, as long as you have it, you can both play it. Of course, only you get the achievements, though. But yeah, absolutely recommend it. If you haven't played it already, play it. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I got a lengthy honorable mentions because there's just so many damn
Yeah.
games I love.
And last one of my honorable mentions is another RPG, but it's by Ubisoft. And this is a one that they didn't do anything more with. They had a little section where they had Ubisoft, what they called Ubisoft Originals, which is by little indie creators that created things for them. So the likes of Unravel and Unravel 2, etc., come into that bracket. And they did really well. But there was an RPG that went into Ubisoft Originals that a lot of people have heard of, might not have played, but absolutely need to, especially if they like RPGs, and that's a game called Child of Light. That game, the artwork was phenomenal, the music was phenomenal, the story was great, it was whimsical, the characters spoke all whimsical like. It wasn't over, it didn't outstay its welcome. It was like a 7-hour game. It wasn't long, it wasn't short. The combat was good. Again, it was turn-based. It was just great from start to finish. Such an awesome game. And again, it's one I'll probably not return to now because I've finished everything in it. But for anybody who hasn't played it, I'd highly recommend playing it. Any specifically fans of RPGs or JRPGs, turn-based combat, and you'll enjoy that game 100%. Well, that's the last of my honorable mentions. I was gonna shove in The Medium. I was gonna shove in Rise. But these are all games that I enjoyed, but wouldn't put them in a top 5 or a top 10.
Yeah, I won't go too in depth with my honorable mentions. I'll just mention the names of the games and move on from there.
Yeah, we'll go to the worst.
Obviously, my big honorable mention has to be Hunt Showdown. I absolutely love that game.
Yeah,
it's not on my main list because most of my list is through nostalgia, and Hunt Showdown is a game that came out in recent years, so that's the only reason it's not in that list.
yeah,
I've based most of my list down to how I felt growing up with some of these games.
yeah,
But yeah, Hunt Showdown, Dead Rising, Dead Island, It Takes Two, BioShock, Pokemon Silver, Pokemon Ruby. There's a few other Pokemon games that I really liked playing, but they're the ones that I grew up with, sort of thing. Especially Silver, as it's the first Pokemon game I ever played. Dead Space as well is one of the games on my list. Jedi Fallen Order, recently completed that. That's got to be an honorable mention. But yeah, that's where I'll stop there though, because I could name off a few right now still, but the list would just grow endlessly.
And this is the part that we're all looking forward to, and this is our worst games collection here. Top 5 worst. Jen, do you want to start off with one of your top 5 worst games you've ever played?
We'll start with the one that was mentioned in chat, Brink. Absolute bloody disaster of a game. The multiplayer was trash. It barely worked.
Yep.
I think it's the game I played that died the quickest, because the amount of people that just bought that game and it made it immediately like took it back or just was like, no, I ain't playing this. It's awful. I think it was just a multiplayer shooter more than anything. I don't remember there being a campaign. If there was a campaign, it was that bad that I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one almost didn't make it on the list because I forgot it even existed.
Yeah.
Until like I went through my achievements list and I was like, shit, I remember playing that. It was bad. So that's
number one for you.
Number one. Yeah, number one for me.
Number 1 for me is something equally as shit. Metal Gear Survive. You might have briefly remembered this one coming out, guys. For any Metal Gear fans out there, you'll remember it as being one that you wanted to avoid at all costs. It was a microtransaction-filled, online-only multiplayer bullshit heap of crap, money grab shit that they put out on the back of Metal Gear 5. For fuck knows what reason.
After Kojima got fired, basically.
Jesus, what a heap of shit that was. And it wasn't just me that thought of it. Anybody who played or reviewed that game absolutely rinsed that thing into the floor. I think it lasted less time than Brink. I think that game came out and sank immediately. I don't even think it got
did.
within the
It
first.
did.
Jesus Christ, that was horrific. It had
See, I
nothing to
only
do with
remember
Metal Gear.
playing the beta. I only played the beta and never played the full game, so that's why Metal Gear Survive isn't on my list.
Woo!
But I don't imagine it's as bad as you're saying it is, because a lot of people said it was that bad.
Yeah, it was a heap of shit. I don't know why. I mean, it was one of them things, you know, when Ubisoft keep tagging Tom Clancy onto every gun game they've ever created, even though it's got fuck all to do with like X
that game that
Defiant.
they were working on X Defiant,
Which
yeah,
where they've
Clancy's
actually
X
now
Defiant.
removed the name Tom Clancy from it because the fans kicked off and said this has got fuck all to do with Tom Clancy. Stop tagging his name in
Tom
it.
Clancy would be turning in his grave if
Yeah.
he saw that game.
So thankfully, we removed Tom Clancy off that, and then now it's just X Defiant. But this is one of those cases where they've created a game on the back of a name, i.e., Metal Gear, even though it had fuck all to do with Metal Gear, and then tried to make a quick buck off it.
Oh, it did. It did. It had like that 5-minute cut scene at the beginning where you were dragged through the portal, and that's it. That was
After
all
that, it had nothing to do with it.
Gear.
Yeah. Had nothing to do with it. I do not recommend picking it up, but certainly go and watch a few hilarious reviews on it that just rinse the living
Angry
daylights
Joe
out
did
of it.
one that
Angry
was
Joe,
pretty
yeah,
good.
his was funny. Yeah. God,
I think he makes other Joe makes him drink some like dirty water liquid thing.
yes,
that they'd mixed together and it looked gross.
yeah, because of what it was like in game. That was one of the things in game where you had to drink this weird sludge shit. Oh God, what a pile! But yes, that's my first number one for top 5 worst games ever. What's your second, Jen?
My second is Transformers, the movie game. It was bloody tragic. I remember being a huge fan of Transformers. I loved the Transformers movie, the first one, without a doubt. But playing the movie game was a disaster.
Yes.
If you could get it to work.
Yep.
It was awful. It was one of the most clunky experiences I've ever played, even for an old game.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's not something I would recommend to anyone. And there was some good Transformers games, like War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. They were brilliant games.
Yeah.
But yeah, that it's one of the worst movie games I've ever experienced, and I would never want to play it again in my life.
Yeah. I don't blame you. My next one.
I never even bothered with any of the other Transformers movie games after trying that.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you. I don't blame you.
Those would be disasters.
They were all disasters. My next is going to rile up a few people, but bear with me while I explain, because I know people are going to hate this one. But Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3. They go into my top worst games, not because of the story, not because of when they were, but dear God, I hate tank controls. Tank controls are a heap of shit. Stop it. Please, never again. Thank God we're past that. We do not need tank controls. But I always remember, specifically when you're on some of the harder sections or harder parts of the game, and when you've got on harder difficulties, is when you're aiming up, you're aiming in the middle, or you're aiming down. You do not have actual aiming. You're just middle, up, down. Middle, up, down. You can't really aim properly. The camera angles are shit. Always have been. They always put you in the worst,
I agree with that.
the worst locations you can ever see. Like, where the fuck am I going? You'll start running left, the camera changes. Then when you try to run left, you start running right. You're like, what is going on?
You tuned into some of my Resident Evil Zero stream, and you saw how painful of an experience that was for me.
Oh, God, yeah.
And I love those games. I love growing up with those games.
Yeah.
But going back to those games it's just painful.
Yeah. It is so painful. But my best, like I say, one of my best mates growing up loves the tank controls, and I think there's something wrong with them. Grim Glen, disliked and unsubbed. But tank controls can suck ass. The rest of the game, the story, what it did for horror, what it did for all of that, that's fine. That's great. Love all of that. But the tank controls and the shitty camera angles can suck ass. Ditch that. Thank you.
Pretty much what Fanto said in the chat is once I've done Resident Evil 1, I'll be playing the remasters. So
yeah. The remasters are such a step up.
My wish is that Capcom remake Resident Evil 0 in the same style as Resident Evil 2, 3, and the new 4 remake that's coming, and do the same for Resident Evil 1 again, because it needs to be brought up to that modern pace, because I don't feel like if anyone wanted to jump into Resident Evil and they initially jumped into those games first, they'd probably be like, no, I'm going to skip these two.
Yeah.
So yeah, just remake those two, Capcom, and Code Veronica, and then we'll be good.
Yeah.
And while you're there, do Outbreak 1
See,
and 2.
I'm already getting my favorite Resident Evil remade, because my favorite Resident Evil is Resident Evil 4, which to me is the best one they've got. A lot of people don't agree with that, but a lot of people do agree with that. They might even go in honorable mentions. But Resident Evil 4 was my favorite Resident Evil, and I'm getting that remake, so I'll be happy.
Resident Evil 4 is a brilliant game.
It is, and Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake was absolutely phenomenal. I've got both of them. And they're beautiful.
The only thing I'd say about Resident Evil 3 is it was too short.
Yeah, but to be fair, those games originally were. It was just a lot of back and forward.
But there's a lot cut from Resident Evil 3. There was like a whole clock tower section that they literally cut out of the game and didn't even bother to do anything with.
Yeah. But yeah, even Grim Glenn agrees there. Resident Evil 4 changed the game. Did. For the best. I have a love-hate relationship with Resident Evil 4 just because it was the turning point of Resident Evil. It was a fucking great game. Yeah. But after that is when Resident Evil went downhill. Oh yeah. Yeah, they pinnacled.
And now it's going back up.
They reached the climax, yeah. It is, like I say, 7 phenomenal, but 5 and 6 were shit.
I love it.
5 and 6 you can forget them.
5 was okay.
But you can 6, easily. No one ever mentions 5 and 6 in any Resident Evil discussions. Ever. I've never ever seen someone go, Resident Evil 5 is my favorite. They don't even get mentioned in passing. Like, it's Resident Evil 1, 2, Code Veronica, or 4, and then Resident Evil 7 and 8 are entirely different Resident Evils. The good thing about Resident Evil 7 was it brought back more of the horror element again. Resident Evil 8 took a step back from that a bit.
Yeah, that's what disappointed me about 8, but there was something about 8 that I think it was the replayability of it more than
it was more like an action game than a horror game. Whereas 7 was more like psychological horror.
Yeah. That's what I hate about 8 is the fact that they pushed back in that action direction of Resident Evil 6. Not as much as Resident Evil 6 because there was still horror elements to 8. But
and one thing that I think Resident Evil need to take into account now is when they were like, "Oh, the fans said Resident Evil 7 was too scary." So what have the Dead Space and PUBG creators done? Fuck you, we're creating our games ultra scary now. Super scary. More scary than any scary thing has ever been. Get ready to shit your pants. And I'm so glad there's so many ultra horror, like proper horror games coming out now. We've got like 5 or 6 coming out within the next 7 months. It's insane.
All of Jeff Keighley's showcase was...
just horror. It was a horror sci-fi showcase. And bring it all on.
It was all Callisto Protocol and the many sequels that are coming after it.
Yeah.
But yeah, your number, it was 2, right?
That was my number 2, yeah.
That leans good into my number 3, which was Resident Evil 6. I bloody hated that game. It was a disaster. It was terrible. The story was garbage and it was action heavy. Well, it was all action. There was no horror elements to it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sugarcoat that. It was terrible. It's the worst Resident Evil game ever. Yeah. Literally. If you're a Resident Evil fan and you like Resident Evil 6, I'm sorry, it sucks. I have nothing but bad experiences with Resident Evil.
So does Resident Evil Reverse as well, by the way. That was a heap of shit. Just to tie that in with 6. I don't know why they try to do these online Resident Evil things because they never work well and they're always a heap of shit.
It's half-assed. That's what it is. Yeah. The online multiplayer that's coming out soon, or Reverse or whatever the hell it's called. I don't have any hopes for that because They had that RE Survivors or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, that
came
was
with,
shit.
that one that came with Resident Evil 3 remake. It was garbage.
Yeah.
Resistance, that was what it was
That's
called.
the one, yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
I only played that because my mate wanted the achievements for it, and I said, "Okay, I'll help you out." I didn't want the achievements myself. I didn't get the achievements myself, but I assisted my mate get the achievements, and it was the most painful experience of my life.
Yep.
Just because he's a huge Resident Evil fan, I said I'd help him, and I'm bound to do the same with REverse. And I'm not even doing it because I want the achievements.
Just so he can get them. Yeah.
Yeah, just because it makes it easier on him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Resident Evil 6, everyone. It sucks. Don't play it.
My next one is a little game we all got free not too long ago on the launch of the new Space Jam film that came out not too long ago. Equally as bad as the Space Jam film, it was Space Jam: A New Legacy, which was a side-scrolling beat-em-up-esque arcade classic, or at least it was meant to be, and it was terrible.
It was.
Not much else needs to be said for that game. It was shit. It didn't play well. Didn't feel great. It was a good job it was free, because I would never have fucking paid for anybody to pay for that game. It was a simple thing to tie in with the film. Good job it was free, because it was shit. It was nice and easily wrapped up there. Shit. I played half an hour of it, turned it off, uninstalled it. Didn't even think about it anymore. Terrible.
I think I was going to go for the full 1,000 gamer score, and then I played it, and I was like, no, I'm not going for the full gamer score now.
That's exactly why I downloaded it. I was like, oh, easy 1,000. And I started playing it, and I was like, absolutely fucking not. Turn it off. Nope. And I've played some shit. I have played some shit easy 1,000 games as well, by the way. The Ratiaka, or whatever they're called, games. The ones that they just pump out for like £1 every 2 days. I've played a lot of that shit. And this is worse than that. At least I can grin and bear them for 1,000 G. This was shite.
I think I have, for my number 4, you have the same game, right?
I'm not sure.
Call of Duty Ghosts?
Oh, yes, yeah. Yeah. I've got that in my honourable mentions. But yes.
You've got that in your honourable mentions.
Yeah.
I just remember you saying it in the green room, and I was like, I thought it was at the same spot. But yeah, Call of Duty Ghosts is one of the worst shooters you can ever play. The campaign was shit, and the most generic COD game that you could possibly imagine.
Yep.
There's bad COD games, but this takes the cake for the worst.
And the story. Jesus Christ.
The story was abysmal and cliche, which is generic for Call of Duty, but it was
even in Call of Duty's land. Yeah. Even in Call of Duty standards, it was bad.
That typical Call of Duty ending where you're struggling for your life.
Yeah.
And someone throws a gun at you. Oh, but you got no bloody bullets, so you got to struggle to put the bullets in the gun.
Yeah.
And then you can shoot the guy. And then apparently the guy doesn't even die.
Yep.
It's awful. The multiplayer sucked as well, although it did have some cool elements with like the Predator from the Predator movies. They put him in the game. They had Michael Myers as well in the game. Those were the only things going for that game, and even then, the game was still shit multiplayer wise.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not a COD game I would say you need to play.
No.
You need to avoid it.
Yep. It's a game you pretend.
You were talking about installing it just to complete the campaign.
Just to complete the campaign. That's how bad it was. I got COD Ghosts with the OG Xbox One and didn't finish it then. And it's never been installed since.
I'd advise you not bother. Save yourself the trouble.
Oh, God. But yes, so that went into my honourable mentions, but it did also join it there. My next one is a sequel to an actual decent game that didn't do... It's not like... And the reason it's in worst is mainly because it's a game that the sequel wasn't done right, and that's Outlast 2. Outlast 1 was pretty decent when it first came out, and it's the first one of those run for your life horror games where you can't defend yourself. There is no means to defend yourself. It's just a case of trying to escape without being caught. The original game and its premise and its shock value and everything that come along with it, where you only had you only had your camera with a night vision. You had to hide in lockers away from enemies that could literally just rip you apart. And everything like that. The first one was great. The second one was shit. It was a follow-up that shouldn't have occurred. It didn't review well at all because it was just all same shit from the first one recycled, and you still got the camera, you still doing what you want to do. Now it's about this what do you call them? Not tribe. You know, when you've got this like all worship this shit.
Cult?
Yeah, like a cult type thing for the second one, whereas the first, it was an insane asylum where you had to investigate something, like no one was responding, you had to go to investigate this insane asylum, and all the fucking nutcases had escaped and things like that. The second had none of that. The second was about a cult. It was just this fucking typical shit that have been
Generic,
copy and pasted for fucking years in any horror movie, and it just didn't have the same thing with it. It was more just a case of, well, we'll try and do this, but with a cult, as if it was some new thing, but it hadn't. If any horror fan has seen any horror film at all, if you're a horror fan, you know that cults have been done to death. Cults are one of the very few things that have been done a lot throughout all of time. The cult thing has been overdone. It's been well overdone. It's like zombies. It's like,
yep.
Like zombies, it's well overdone. There was a point in time, and let Angry Joe again have to shout at him, which is why he's got, do you want to play a zombie game? It got a point in time where it was like that with horror films. It was all about cults. Cult. And then the games went all about zombies, and it was zombie.
Yep.
So yeah, Outlast 2 is a miss, but if you haven't played Outlast 1, play Outlast 1, because that was a decent little psychological escape horror game.
I haven't played any of them, so...
Play the first one, on stream preferably, where I can make you jump.
I probably will. It's a horror game, and
yep.
I do play a lot of horror games on my streams. So.
Yes. After Isolation, Outlast.
Well, Resident Evil, and then maybe Outlast. I'll let the community decide my fate.
Yeah. But yes, that was my other pick. What about yours? Next.
My fifth and final pick before my honorable mentions is one of the worst games I've ever played.
Yep.
And it's for one of the worst franchises on TV that exists. Although it used to be one of my favorite franchises, The Walking Dead. If you didn't know, there was a Walking Dead game that came out on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 called The Walking Dead Survival Instinct. And it was the worst experience of my life, and I hated every minute of it. But I still pushed through and played it because at that time I was a big Walking Dead fan. The graphics was like playing a PlayStation 2 game. It had the clunkiest of mechanics, and it felt like the quickest cash grab I've ever seen in my life. Quicker than a Last of Us 1 remake.
Yep.
Just trying to shoot the crossbow was a pain in the arse. You'd have times where the zombies would be on top of you, and it was awful. The stabbing them in the head mechanic was terrible. When it actually worked, it was all right. But it more felt like a quick cash grab because they were killing Merle off at the time, you know, Daryl's brother.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, it was an Activision game by, I can't remember the name of the studio, but they made one of the Ghostbusters games that a lot of people liked.
Yep.
This game, not a lot of people liked. And it really did feel like a cash grab because I think it was season 4 or 3, towards the end of season 3, I think it might have been when they killed Merle off. And then this came out shortly after that, and it felt like a quick, we got to make this story to tie in with Merle and clear up a little bit of their backstory of where they were before the beginning of The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
If this game actually had a story to it, basically, you start the game, you play as, I think, Daryl's dad.
Yeah.
He dies very early in the game, like literally opening minutes. He
Brilliant.
gets chewed up by zombies. And then you continue the game playing as Daryl. You meet Merle, I think it's like mission 3 or 4, and then he disappears for the rest of the game. And he shows up to fly a helicopter at the end of the game. And I'm like, what the hell? What is this? It's just bad.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that you could Google this, find some YouTube videos, and you'll see how bad it is yourself. I don't think it's
as bad as
available
the
to buy
Rambo game
anymore or play.
that come out.
Probably as bad.
Yeah.
I never played that, but it's probably as bad. It's such a generic cash grab.
Yep.
And it has nothing going for it. It's so awful. Just watch some gameplay, and you'll see what I mean. It's awful.
Yep.
And that takes number 5 spot. It should be number 1 actually, to be honest. And I think I might move my number 1 to number 5 and number 5 to number 1 because it's that bad.
We've got a question from the Aquamarine Dragon in the chat there. This is a very deep question, and I think you might have been smoking the happy grass. I have a question for you. Why do you do what you do? Why do you believe what you believe? That's very deep. Very deep. Quick answer. I do what I do because I enjoy it. If I don't enjoy it, I don't do it. I believe what I believe because it is an opinion. Opinions can change. It's just about knowledge. Simple as that. Knowledge is power. Power is knowledge. Simple. I believe what I believe because I have learned that particular thing I've believed in. If I find anything to alter that particular train of thought, that otherwise proving different, then I will believe something that proves or provides facts. Simple. Nice and easy.
That's a hard question to answer, the second part of it. But the first part, yeah, it's pretty much the same as you. Why do I do what I do? Because I love doing it. Yeah. I'm here because I love talking about games. But to the second part of that question, why do I believe what I believe in? It's the way I've been brought up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Your beliefs come from growing up as a kid, learning from people that are authority figures like teachers, and your parents, of course, as well. But mainly your parents. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can say on that matter, really. It's quite a complicated question to answer, to be honest. It's like being asked, who are you? It's a hard question to answer.
Well, actually, last one for me. The Crew. Of course, they did end up bringing out a sequel for this one. But the reason I put The Crew in there was more on Ubisoft's ability to oversell something. It was a great concept. It was a concept that they attempted to do what Horizon had done for Forza, but on a bigger scale, a much bigger scale. The map was far larger. It was the entirety of the United States. Of course, not in one-to-one scale. That would have been insane. You would have been going on for days, but it did take a good couple hours to get across the map. They included additional vehicles. Specifically in the second one, they included air races and bikes and boats and everything like that. But the game itself was terrible. The handling was shocking. Full of bugs. Graphically, it was well below par. It wasn't what was really advertised. The multiplayer was dog shit. The game itself, like I say, the handling, the way cars and physics worked for the cars was shit.
Was that the game where they tried to make like this, where you could drive to one side of the US to the other?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the game that I'm remembering. That
yeah, it was. Yeah, they made that game, but in the least enjoyable way.
The least
enjoyable way. It was a great concept.
To drive from one end of the US to the other, but poorly executed. I played the beta and I played it with a few friends.
Yeah.
And we had a bad experience with the beta that none of us bought the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I got the original, thinking it was going to be better than it was, and it was terrible. Great concept, poorly executed is the best way to summarize that game up. So it's not the worst of the worst, but it was the fact that it was one of those typical Ubisoft games, like Watch Dogs 1, where it was a great concept, but poorly executed. Thankfully, Watch Dogs went on to become better, but the first two Watch Dogs weren't great, and they both drastically under-delivered on what they promised. Both crew, the crew 1 and the crew 2 were exactly the same. Exactly the same. And it went through a period then of people essentially saying, well, you see, remember what Watch Dogs was like when they showed that off the first time, and then remember what you got. Like, this is why we don't announce games early, and this is why we don't talk about games early. And that's why developers started doing the opposite way again, where they just say, right, okay, well, now we're not talking about it until it's ready.
It's typical from Ubisoft, though, that they show a game off, they oversell it, and then they downgrade the game. And under-deliver. That's why I don't really go much on Ubisoft games in this day and age. Older Ubisoft, back in the day when they were making games like Rainbow Six Vegas 2, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 1 and 2, those games were amazing. Those games were done really well and cutting edge for their times. But nowadays, Ubisoft have lost their way.
Oh, big controversial one here from Andrew Cullinan. Says Jedi Fallen Order, worst level design in history. Fuck your stupid wall run load speeds. It's dumb the first time. Load screens. It's dumb the first time. 30th time, it's rage inducing.
I will agree on the wall run. The wall run was not great. I hope that is improved in the sequel. Because I loved the game overall.
Yeah, overall loved the game, but yeah, the map design, I've said this many times. I'm glad it was just the first one and that the rest of the game held up well. Because if the rest of the game didn't hold up well, then the map design would have been pointed out as the ultimate problem. The map design wasn't great.
Smooth Dog says, I think I'm the only person that liked Watch Dogs 1, but it was overhyped, so.
Yeah, yeah. Goodbye, Aquamarine. Thank you for dropping in and asking that extremely deep question. But yes.
I want what he's having.
I know, same. Honourable mentions for me. And this is another one that's going to catch a few people out. Yakuza 0. Hate that game. Personal thoughts. Combat was shite. Too much talking. Too many cutscenes. Dislike. Just dislike the game. Like a Dragon? It's a different story. Better combat. Better game. Less talking. Still a lot, but less talking. Overall, a better, more enjoyable experience. Yakuza 0, terrible. Call of Duty Ghosts.
Yakuza 0.
Yeah.
But I did like what I played.
Yeah.
But the combat is a little bit janky. I will give it that.
I'm triggering Glenn today. And Vin. Vin's getting one in the ear as well here. Don't worry.
It's the only Yakuza game I've played.
I'm gonna sub so I can unsub again. Call of Duty Ghosts, naturally, we spoke about that before. Anthem. Anthem was a game with so much promise that the studio itself and the publisher didn't back it up and canned it before they fixed it. I think that is the biggest travesty of Anthem. It had a lot of promise. The actual suit combat was fun. The fact that you could fly around an entirely open world or even just walk around that same world. The concept and the game itself was great. The problem was the fact that it had no fucking content and it was broken on launch. And then the developer and its publisher scrapped it. Like, the developer, BioWare, wanted to work on it, but they weren't allowed to. They weren't allowed to, and ultimately just scrapped the game before it was fixed. And that was a
Yeah,
travesty because that had promise.
yeah, it's on my honorable mentions as well. I did a pass or play on this when I was making pass or play episodes,
Yeah.
and it was a big fat pass. I don't recommend anyone even try this game. It's dead. Just
Yeah.
don't go near it.
It's unfortunate as well. It's so unfortunate because it's had so much promise, and that world could have been so much more if they did some more with it.
Yeah, that's the most disappointing thing with that game is the fact that it had a lot of potential going
The suit
for it.
the suit combat was awesome. The
Yeah, he didn't care
customizable like armor and mechs and things you could wear was unbelievable. Like you felt powerful flying around, and you felt like Iron Man getting into his suit and jumping and flying around the map and everything and having fun. And then after that, it was we're talking about Anthem games, Lord. Yeah, after that, the fact that they then just shit canned the game and refused to fix it and weren't supporting it anymore, and yeah, it was a
I think
travesty.
what's more annoying is that the way they kept going on about that they were going to fix the game and improve the game, and then eventually they canned it.
Yeah,
and that was most disappointing.
Yeah, definitely. And last,
but I'm glad I saw what that game was because I did play it in beta, but not much.
Yeah,
because of how bad it was in beta.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I saw that for what it was, and I didn't buy it when it came out.
Yeah.
So
last but not least for me is new to Xbox, relatively new, and that is Armor Reforger. Now, Armor is a game on PC that's done very well, very well. It's more of a more realistic military shooter, which is a squad based on the PC. It's more tactical based. It's on the Xbox Now in-game preview, and it is shit. The gunplay is terrible. There is you when you're getting fired at, you can't see who you're getting fired at from. The enemies are horrific. Like horrific. Just stand there in the middle of the road firing at you. The graphics are horrific. The gameplay is horrific. It reminded me of playing a gun version of Ark. It is shit. It is a heap of shit.
I haven't played it. I haven't played any of the Armor games on any platform.
Yeah, Fanto's exactly the same. Fanto, downloaded, played, deleted within an hour. It's terrible. On PC, it's got a massive community. On Xbox, dear God, don't play it. Don't even download it. It's shit.
And the best thing about PC as well is the mods. People that mod that game improve that game.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to play a decent World War II shooter, Enlisted's quite good. There was another one as well. I've forgotten the name of it. That Duncan and the Thistledew guys were playing. That was a World War II game. That was a little bit more realistic.
No, not Insurgency Sandstorm. That's not a World War shooter game.
It's extremely tactical though. It's one shot kill all the way through. It requires you to be on the money. It doesn't have silly scopes or anything. It's all iron sight. Unless you're a sniper, of course, in which case then you've got normal scope, fixed scope. But it's essentially one shot kill all the way through. But that's exactly what Enlisted's like as well. It's one shot kill. That's the way it should be. But yes, so don't play Armor. Don't download Armor, even if it's in game preview. I mean, if you want to see how shit it is, feel free to download it. But it's crap. But yes, Jen, what about yourself? What's your honorable mentions?
I won't go into details as much as you, but Alone in the Dark, the 360 and PS3 version.
Right.
Like, I think it was supposed to be a reboot, but it was trash.
Yeah.
It was garbage. It was one of the worst horror experiences of my life. I can't really even say it was a horror experience.
Yeah.
The game was clunky. The mechanics was clunky. I remember running out of batteries every 2 seconds in that game. It just wasn't fun at all.
Yeah.
The Amazing Spider-Man games based on the movies 1 and 2.
Oh
Trash.
God, yes.
Don't play them ever. pretty much a similar position with how bad Transformers was.
Yeah.
It's close to being that bad, but it didn't quite make the full list. Ghost Recon Future Soldier, the one that came after Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 1 and 2.
Ah.
Trash. One of the worst, clunkiest
Yep.
shooters I've ever played.
Yeah.
Don't play it.
Yeah.
Simply just don't play it. I don't even think the servers are back up or even up, so you won't be able to play it.
Yep.
It's garbage. I don't even remember a campaign in that game, to be honest.
Neither do I. And I've played them all
as well. Like you said, Anthem had potential, but it was let down by the problems at launch, the lack of content for endgame.
Yep.
The beta playing that was a tragedy, and I experienced it in. I think I put like 9 hours into that game to do a pass or play on it.
Yep.
Hated every moment of it. Yeah, you can guess what that was. It was a fat pass. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
And Quake Wars. Does anyone remember Quake Wars? That terrible attempt at trying to be Battlefront 2, where you bought your character, your version of whatever character it was, the aliens or the humans.
Yeah.
And I just remember that being a complete mess to play online. The amount of online issues for it, disconnects I had. Again, clunky shooter like most of the games on this list.
Yeah.
It was an all-online experience. I don't remember there being a campaign. If there was, it was like
Fanto Sir remembers
style, where it was all online.
Fanto Sir says Quake Wars was gash.
It was terrible. I don't think I played it for very long. I think my initial experience with it was, this looks cool. I bought it. This is shit. I uninstalled it.
Yep.
I think I must have put about 2 or 3 hours into that game, and I was like, no, this is awful. The issues were bad. But yeah, they're my honourable mentions for worst. Not as big as me best lists.
Yeah.
The best games with the honourable mentions.
The good thing is
so much harder to think of the worst games than it is the best games.
You know what it is? I don't think it's harder. The problem is for myself, and much like yourself, the ones we remember, the ones that we remember as being terrible, are the ones that we were hyped up about and purchased, thinking it was going to be good, and it turned out shit. As opposed to just buying a game and it being shit. Like, just a random game. Like, some people have played some games or have reviewed games and they've reviewed some utter dog shit. But I don't normally buy shit games. Like, I wait a long time to buy them and then I'll play them and then I'll enjoy it and play it all the way through. So it's much easier to find games I like because a lot of the games that I buy, I like. But it's very hard to find games you hate unless you hyped up a game or were hyped up for something so much only to be let down by that game. And the games, again, unlike Metal Gear Survive, which was just utter shit, the rest of them, Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, Space Jam New Legacy, Outlast 2, The Crew, aside from Space Jam, I purchased the others. Which is why I was let down by them. Or in the case of Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, historically hate tank controls. So yeah, to find games that you hate, I mean, people could probably write a list of games that they utterly detest, but it would be harder than finding games that you love, because you will find far more games that you like and enjoy that is harder to put into a list of 5 because there's that many. Than games that you hate and detest and put them into a bottom 5 because you typically don't buy games or intentionally buy shit games. So
yeah, that's true.
So when you do come across them, you either remember them because they were that fucking bad, or you try to forget them.
Hard though to sit and think about the games that I didn't go much on because they were just bad.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it comes down to the fact that they're just not that memorable. So it is hard. You have to sit there for longer to think about the games you disliked.
Yeah. I think is Grim Glenn talking about alien colonial marines? Because that was a heap of shit as well. My
I
God.
never played that.
Oh, don't. Whatever you do not play alien colonial marines. Jesus Christ. That was bad. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that one entirely. Jesus Web. I think Angry Joe's done a video on that as well. I think he mentions it specifically before Isolation come out. He was saying like the last Alien Marines game that came out, or Alien game that came out, was Colonial Marines, and that was just terrible, and he hated it. And then of course he played Isolation. And he was like, "This is exactly how you do an Alien game." And then of course they brought out that new Alien Marines game, and that's okay. To be fair, it's not horrific. It's certainly not nowhere near as bad as Colonial Marines, because that was just, Jesus Christ, that was bad.
Still ask me a question. Should he rewatch The Boys tonight? Yeah, definitely. And Dutch should start watching it as well tonight.
Yeah, I'll watch it tonight. I'll watch it. A couple episodes before I go to bed. I'm probably not going to sleep with this heat, you know. I'm probably not going to sleep with this heat. It's fucking so warm in here.
Even more reasons to binge watch it.
Yeah. I'll just be at work, just a sweaty, horrible mess at work tomorrow. Oh, dear me. What a fun episode that was. That was enjoyable. See, this is what happens when we don't have anything really to talk about. We just create these wild topics. It's going to be even more interesting trying to think of something next week if we don't have any topics. So I have to think of something else to speak of. But it's been a blast. It's been fun. And it's
100 reasons why the Walking Dead TV show sucks ass.
that wouldn't take. That would be over within literally 100 seconds. Oh dear me, but never mind.
I think I'll bring up the fact that The Walking Dead sucks every episode.
Yeah.
Without fail, in some way, shape, or form, I'll slide it in there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. But awesome, and again, it's been awesome to speak to the chat as well and getting them involved and having a laugh with you lot. I know I've had some slander today. I know a few of you have felt that I've been slandering you with Resi Evil and Yakuza slander, but it's all love, baby. It's all gravy, baby. But hope everyone enjoyed this show today. Jen, it's been a blast. Everybody in chat, as always, been an absolute blast with all of you. Thank you again for tuning in. And for those who are watching on demand, I hope you enjoyed it as well. Make sure, if you haven't already, drop your top 5 best and top 5 worst games of all time in the comments. And we'll be sure to kind of read them out next week as well. That'll be funny to go through that. But Jen,
that'd be hilarious.
Let people know, of course, where they can find you and what you're up to this week. We're back to scaring the pants off you on Monday, aren't we?
Yep. Tomorrow I'm back to playing Alien Isolation at 8 p.m. BST time. I can't remember what that is. EST time. I'm terrible at time zones.
What time do you start?
8 p.m.
That's
UK
3
time.
p.m. Eastern, guys. It's 5 hours behind.
Yeah, pretty much streaming most days of the week. I'll be back here on Wednesday for the main midweek mix-up show. I'm back here Saturday, and also obviously on Tuesday for Sea of Thieves, Wee.
A wee? Sea of wee?
Yep.
Wee of Thieves?
So you can find me on Twitch, the _general_C, and it's the same on Twitter as well. Eventually we'll get back to making YouTube videos, but for right now I'm just enjoying streaming so much that that's sort of where my main content lies at the moment.
I think you need to try and multi-stream, multi-stream to YouTube and Twitch.
I don't know. Maybe. I might give it a try.
Do it.
Possibly.
Do it. You know that.
Palpatine.
Yes.
Do it.
Do it. Yeah. Oh, dear me. But yes, that's awesome. And it's, of course, awesome to have you now as an official panel member over on the main midweek mix-up show. Along,
I'm honored.
of course.
Everyone's been so welcoming. The community have been a blast. I mean, it's been a year since I've been around now.
Yeah.
Like, in chat, I mean. A little bit longer. It was after the anniversary show is when I had my first appearance on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a year since I've been around in the midweek mix-up realm, in chat and all that. So it's been a blast, yeah.
It has. And we're coming up to that anniversary, that fabled 2-year anniversary now of midweek mix-up, which is on the 20th of July. So only 10 days to go. Obviously, we're going to get some awesome guests on. We're going to have a bit of fun, reminisce over the last couple of years, talk about some of our favourite things, and some topics, if there's some topics to discuss then. This week we have Animated Evil on the show. He's from the Midweek podcast, Midweek Gaming podcast. So Animated Evil will be guest this week. And of course, the week after, we have our 2-year anniversary with King David, Gaz Game On Daily, and probably a couple of others. So that's going to be a blast.
It's always funny with Gaz and King David. They're hilarious.
Yes. So, of course, the Lords and the Source in one place. That'll be fun enough. I'm trying to see if ACG is available as well. If all 3 of them come on, that's like a combination. That's like the Infinity Stones going on there. That'll be a hilarious mashup. But we'll see. We'll see what I can do, and if ACG's got the spare time, because it depends on how many reviews he does. The amount of reviews that guy does is insane. I don't know where he's got time to sleep. I know he doesn't sleep often, but he's insane. But he's such a cool guy as well. Although ACG, if you're watching this, you always just randomly message me asking how I'm doing, and then when I ask how you're doing in return, you don't respond. What is with that? But shout out to you, brother. Awesome guy. Of course, love having him on the show as well. But to everybody else watching, hope you have an awesome evening. Of course, you can find me again back here on Tuesday for Sea of Tuesdays with the awesome crew. Myself, Jen, Xbox Mick, who of course is now a panel member as well on the Midweek Mix-Up, with Studos and Perrin Pluck and a host of other people. All on Tuesday. Even we had the pleasure of having Pat on Tuesday as well. Of course, with ourselves. That was
Pat
fun.
helped me get a few achievements as well. So
yes. Of course, back here again on Wednesday for the Midweek Mix-Up proper show. And again, back on the weekend for Midweek Mix-Up, the weekend edition. So again, thank you, everybody. Hope you had an awesome time here on this show. Again, for those of you in the UK and Europe, have an awesome evening and the end of your night. Hope you can enjoy the rest of it. For you over in the US, enjoy the rest of your day. You've still got a few hours left to go. And for everybody else watching on Catch Up, I hope you've had an awesome day. Hope you enjoyed the show. We will see you again next time. Goodbye, guys.